And I hit the wrong button. We are live. What is going on, everybody? This is the Xbox 2 podcast coming to you live on this beautiful Friday, October 25th. Best time of the year, fall. I don't care what anybody else says. When the temperature gets cool and the leaves are falling from the trees and it's pitch black by 6 p.m., it's the best time of the year. Has been since forever. Ever since I've been a kid. I love this time of the year. It's awesome. And it's
the
awesome.
Best time of year since sliced bread.
Yeah, and it's amazing to be here with everybody in chat, all the wonderful people, and with you, Mr. Jez Corden, who is now the executive editor of Windows Central.
Yeah.
Let's get a big round of applause. Yeah, Jez Corden.
Yeah. We are executive layer now, buddy.
Executive
EVP.
layer. Yeah.
Well, there's no VP, but yeah, executive editor. That's interesting. But we're executive editor of Windows Central, but we are merely dog's body over at Xbox 2 podcast, because we all know this is the Rand show, man. Everyone's here for you, dude.
No. Everyone's here for your promotion. Let's give you a clap. Yay! Executive editor.
Oh my god, we got sound effects now. This is a podcast upgrade.
Using the soundboard or whatever, but yeah.
Oh yeah, we got a soundboard. I forgot.
There's
about
a soundboard there.
Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas!
Jez, we're nowhere close to Christmas. It's still months away.
Hey dude, we're not that far away from Christmas. How many days to Christmas? Let's find out. We are 61 days out from Christmas. That's not so far.
I guess. But it's like, it's not. Halloween hasn't even happened yet.
That's true.
Halloween's next week.
You gonna dress up?
Dude, I haven't done Halloween stuff in forever. I used to always, as a kid, dress up as Freddy Krueger. I had the red and brown or red and black sweater he always wore. I had I had his hat. I had the face, and I had the glove. And it's funny because I'm the oldest of 4, right? I have a younger brother and I have 2 younger sisters. And one of my sisters is like 9 years younger than me or 8 years younger than me. So when I used to dress up as Freddy, or anytime I would like get the glove, she would just cry. She'd like run to my mom or my dad, and she'd tear because she was like, "Hey,
oh no,
that's Freddy," and she thought it was like, yeah. So we would do that to her on purpose, of course. Kids like to tease, but yeah,
you're tease. That's straight up bullying, dude. It's bullying, bro.
I guess it is. But come on. You have siblings or a sibling. I'm sure you tease them, and
Dude, what we should do then, given this in the spirit of the season, next week we should do Xbox 2 Ultimate Halloween theme edition.
Yeah, Halloween theme.
And maybe I'll go on camera in costume. We'll play some horror game. How about that? Still Wakes the Deep or something like that.
Tom Warren says Happy New Year, everyone. So there you go. He's going even beyond Christmas to the year 2025.
Tom Warren's using Internet Explorer, and he's actually referring to last year's New Year's.
Oh, it could be. I was going to say, how was your week? But, you got a promotion, so how does that feel? How does it feel to be executive editor of Windows Central?
Feels good, man.
You got to be making what, like $500,000 now, right?
Yeah, it's very funny because like being executive editor, being a writer, kind of means you're still kind of poor. So, it's the title sounds good, but unfortunately the money doesn't always back it up. But yeah, it feels good, man. There's a lot of challenges in publishing right now, but there's also a lot of opportunity, I think, for players that are willing to adapt. And one of the things I say this all the time, but you'll notice I made a Stalker video recently, right?
Mm-hmm,
We want to do more video. I want to do more video, and hope part of my role will be more video. So hopefully, from me, you'll see more exclusive Xboxy videos through to next year. Probably not this year because of Black Friday deal mania coming up, but like in the new year, we're going to be rocking some videos. I got some cool events coming up I got some video work I'm doing on the down low under embargo, so maybe you'll see some video from me next week. Actually, an exclusive video on a secret game. You probably know what it is. It involves archaeology and whipping people.
Whip them real good,
yeah.
real good.
Whip it real good.
Yeah.
So you might see some of that for myself. Sika Mechanico asks, "You're going to be editing them yourself?" Yes, I do. I am. I do make videos. I actually learned. I learned to make videos back in the day. From backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
Because we used to do backyard wrestling with all the weapons and the blood and the bleeding and the ladders. And we used to hang a webcam out my bedroom window and record it. And I was editing these like reels of us beating the shit out of each other in my backyard. But from that, we now make video game videos. So yeah, but no, we don't use DaVinci Sika Mechanico. We use Adobe Premiere Pro. Thank you very much.
God, Adobe's just so ridiculous with their prices on everything. Jesus.
Oh, I don't pay for it.
Well, sure you don't, but I mean,
thank God.
Well,
yeah,
I have to if I want to make my videos. I mean,
oh yeah, Adobe's is absurdly expensive.
It's like, oh, by the way, it's just a monthly subscription. It's like you used to be able to buy it separately, but I guess you could probably do it illegally and just crack it or download it or whatever. But I don't know how they get away with that stuff. It's like, oh yeah, subscription based Premiere Pro and Photoshop. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
I mean, when I originally started making videos, I actually used Windows Live Movie Maker.
Yeah, that's. I used to use Movie Maker for my.
Well, actually, no. When I first started making my videos back in 2006 is when I started making videos on my YouTube channel. I actually used Upload Studio. Then the Xbox One, right? I would take a bunch of clips from the games I would play in. I'd use Upload Studio. You would put together the clips in like the timeline, and then you would record your voiceover, and then you could link your Upload Studio to your YouTube account, and then you could send it to upload it. And the process took a little bit. And trust me, there were so many times where I would record something, and when it got to the end, it would fail. And there was like no way to save it, right? So say you just knocked out the greatest video known to man on Upload Studio, and you went to like go upload it, or it would like render, and then it would upload from Upload Studio to YouTube. But if it failed, it's just gone, bro. It's just completely gone. And you'd have to do it again and again. And I ran into that problem so many times. But yeah, that's how I started making videos. I was like recording some clips, get some clips ready, do some intro, put it together. And then I moved. I was like, this takes too much. Let me do Windows Live Movie Maker. So I started doing Windows Live Movie Maker. And eventually, I forget when, but then I started to use Adobe Premiere Pro. But I'm not like.
What you still use now?
I still use Adobe Premiere Pro. Yep. Well, whenever I do feel the need or the desire to make something. So.
Did you have to mortgage your house to get that?
No, I mean, I think it was maybe
it's not cheap. Really
it's not cheap, but yeah. So. I'm not like Colt Eastwood level of, because Colt's like real job is a graphics designer, so he's like a whiz with Premiere Pro, and he's doing all these like crazy stuff, and I'm just like doing the bare basics of like video editing. But anyways, enough about that. Anything else going on? You're outside of being promoted and having more responsibility for barely any more pay. How was your week?
Right, it's all good, man.
Yeah.
I got back from London on Saturday for the Indiana Jones event. Can't talk about it yet, obviously, but the event was very cool. It was in a college that looked, it looked almost like the I can't remember the name of the college from Elden Ring. You know what I'm talking about? Raya Lucaria, I think is it called the college from that. like, with all the wood interiors. I was like, oh my god, I was starting having, PTSD flashbacks of that stupid wolf and all the other stuff in there. But yeah, it was a very cool event. So we got some good content on that coming up. But yeah, other than that, same old, just busy. Looking forward to doing the podcast today and hanging out with the cool XB2 peeps. We also did XB2 plus 1 with Tom Henderson on Tuesday.
One of the Toms. We still got to get Tom Warren on.
Yes, we do. We did Tom Henderson this Tuesday. That's up on Patreon now, and it'll be up publicly. I think we're going on Monday, I think, for that one.
Mm-hmm. Monday or Tuesday, yeah.
Monday or Tuesday. Probably Monday, because I think we'll be doing the Halloween episode on Tuesday. So I'll probably put that live on Monday. And then yeah, rocking and rolling. Playing some games here and there. Not very many games, though. I find that as you climb the ladder in editorial, you have actually less and less time to write. And actually do any research on the things you write about. Funnily enough, it's weird how that works, right? But I have got some game. I have been playing a game that I can't talk about. I'm not reviewing it though. Colleagues reviewing it, but I have been playing it and recording some footage because I want to talk about it next week. I
believe people can say what the game is.
Oh,
and
really?
like when the review embargo's up, because I saw Xbox Air post about it, like, hey, our review is going to be live this day. Same thing with like Danny Pena and stuff. So that embargo might have lifted, if you know what I mean. If you're talking about the game I think you're talking about.
Possibly.
Yeah. Xbox Air says, yes, Dragon Age is on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. PR said it's okay to do today. It's in the email.
Okay, well, the game I've been playing is Dragon Age, but I can't tell you it. Can't tell you about it until Monday. So we'll have Dragon Age to discuss next Friday. But yeah, that's been me. Yeah, let's get into.
Well, hold on. There's this one other topic. I don't know where I want to slot this topic in, so I figure I want to talk about it now. I saw this tweet from you yesterday, and I have to ask you: did you buy a $90 dinosaur for World of Warcraft?
Oh man.
Did you spend $90 on a dinosaur mount for World of Warcraft? Did you or did you not?
No.
The world needs to know.
I did not buy the World of Warcraft dinosaur mount.
No.
I'm proud to say that I didn't buy the $90 dinosaur mount in World of Warcraft. And the discourse around this mount has been hilarious because they announced the dinosaur and everyone on social media started freaking out. But then I logged in to the main city where the expansion's taking place. Full of fucking dinosaurs. Hundreds of them. Hundreds and hundreds of dinosaurs.
Just dinosaurs as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, and this mount is the biggest mount in the game. It's huge. So it literally looks like Jurassic Park in the game right now. Like a huge herd of brontosauruses everywhere, all over the place. It is insane. And each one of those is $90. $90. And this game isn't on Steam, so they're not giving anyone a cut. That's all Battle.net money, straight to Blizzard. $90. Every dinosaur you see, as far as I could see, just dinosaurs everywhere. So it's been really funny to watch the discourse because people are like, oh my god, this sucks. But like, everyone's buying it. So why do you think they keep doing it? So it's like, man, we lost the war, man. If there was ever a war on microtransactions and stuff like that, it's well and truly lost. $90, man, for a dinosaur mount. It's really annoying because it's also a utility mount because it's got a mailbox on it and an auction house on it that you can take anywhere with you. So it's like you're not just buying a dinosaur, you're also buying like utility on top of the subscription you pay and on top of the full priced expansions you pay for every year or every like 18 months. So it's like, they're making money hand over fist.
Dude,
man.
I really thought you'd be rocking your dinosaur. You'd being like, I don't care what people think. I want my cool dino.
That's too much.
You know?
That's too much, man.
$90. I mean, come on, treat yourself. You're just the executive editor. Or do you not want to be involved in the killing of modern gaming, right? Because there is obviously that push that people have about microtransactions and all that stuff. And they're like, oh, this modern gaming, it sucks. It's always trying to squeeze us for more money without anything. And all this stuff. And then you realize that maybe the people that complain about that are the loud minority, and that everybody else is just like, oh, something cool to buy with my money for the game that I really love. Let me get this dino. And they spend $90 on it. $90.
Yes, the argument I've had from I've talked to publishers about this, games publishers, and one of the arguments I've had from them is like, what's the difference between buying a $90 dinosaur mount or buying like an expensive pair of sneakers or something like that? People collect sneakers. I literally own one pair of shoes, but there are people out there who buy like dozens and dozens of shoes. You don't need more than one pair of shoes. I kind of feel like people in chat might disagree.
Well,
I don't think you need more than one.
How many pairs of shoes? All right, let's put this from the chat. Chad, how many pairs of shoes should one have? Right? I mean, you got to have a pair of dress shoes for events, whether you're going to weddings or, God forbid, funerals. Boots. You can't wear Nikes or Adidas's to a funeral or a wedding.
I wore my boots to a funeral.
So you gotta have a pair of dress shoes. You gotta have a pair of gym shoes. You gotta have a pair of like nice shoes that you could go on a date, but that aren't really dress shoes. You probably got to have just a nice casual, hey, this is my daily shoe. So I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. What's the right number here, chat? How many pairs of shoes should you own? I guess.
Achievement owns 30 pairs of shoes. He says.
Work shoes. I mean, if you're doing physical work, you need those steel tip boots. Right?
Yeah. So
you need work shoes.
I've got steel toe cap Caterpillar work boots, right? And I wear them for everything. I wear them for walking. I wear them for traveling. I wear them for dress shoe events, because if you put your trousers over the ankle, they kind of look like dress shoes. Like, they're black leather. They could pass almost for shoes. And I wear them everywhere. They're hard wearing. I've had them for years and years and years. They're starting to look a little bit bad, but that's all you need is a pair of boots. But people. But actually, I lied. I own a pair of Crocs.
You also probably own a pair of slippers too, or a pair of sandals.
No, I don't.
Because we know you out there rocking the white socks and sandals when you go places sometimes.
No. I wear socks and Crocs.
Socks and Crocs. Is that
so?
Okay.
When I go to the supermarket Kaufland, I usually wear Crocs with socks. I don't give a fuck. I go there in my pajamas, man. I don't care. I'm one of them. I'm one of them kind of people, But that's what they say to me. It's like, well, what's the difference? We're giving you this optional $90 dinosaur mount. You don't have to buy it. Just like you don't have to buy those fancy ass sneakers, and that's their argument, And apparently everyone agrees, because everyone bought the fucking dinosaur mount. There's a million of them in Dornagal. There's millions of them. There's a whole herd of dinosaurs, man. I could log in right now and get a screenshot. There's like a million of those dinosaurs. It was really funny though, Rand. Someone used the World of Warcraft API and made a website. I think it's called "Did Your Husband Buy the $90 Dinosaur.com" or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can put the character name in and the region, and it will look up the character and tell you if they bought the fucking mount, so you can shame them. So like if you bought the mount and you try to keep it on the down low, there's a tool online where you could find out if someone actually went and bought it, which is it's funny. But
it's funny.
Everyone's judging me about my Crocs.
I mean, everybody has a different opinion on how many you should have. Some say 3, some say 4. Your Malice is like, I have 30. Like, okay, 30 shoes. Evil Slayer's
Malice says I have 57 pairs.
Yeah,
and I know the people are upset about my Crocs. The Game Adaptation newscast says Crocs are a sin against fashion. What? How dare you, sir? Crocs should only be worn by children. I disagree, man. Crocs are... I would wear Crocs 24/7, but they're a bit cold sometimes with all the holes in. And if it's raining, But in the summer, yeah, Crocs all the way, man. I went to Greece. I went to Greece earlier in the year. I wore Crocs a whole damn day. Crocs with socks, man.
Crocs
That's the
with
best.
socks.
Best way to go. Crocs with socks.
Yeah.
Rhymes too.
I'm number one. I'm just shocked about the World of Warcraft mount. I figured you would have bought that shit like
No, I didn't.
instantly, like $90, no
I did,
problem. I love you. Here's some money.
I did go on Microsoft Rewards to see if you could buy it via that.
That's smart.
Because
smart.
You can buy Diablo. You can buy Diablo for currency with Microsoft Rewards. You can also buy Overwatch coins with Microsoft Rewards, but you can't buy anything in World of Warcraft with Microsoft Rewards. So that might be something I need to bitch to people about.
Yeah, you need to throw stink. You need to start DMing people.
So I have a ton of stuff in Diablo and Overwatch, but it's because I use Microsoft Edge and Bing, unironically, and I just use the Microsoft points to buy the skins. You know, I don't actually actively buy the skins, but you know, I have also bought the Lilith statue. But so you know, but that's the thing. It's like you buy merch, you buy nice fancy shoes. What's the difference of buying a $90 mount? I suppose really the issue is like it takes the focus off the gameplay, because one of the issues I've got with Diablo 4 right now, and I'm going to write about this next week, is that the rewards you get for actually playing the game are shittier than the rewards you get from paying for the skins. And I think that's when it goes too far. Like in World of Warcraft, all the armor sets and the transmog you have to earn those by playing the game, and it gives you something to earn and something to chase. But in Diablo, all the cosmetics you get from actually playing the game suck, and all the cosmetics you get from paying money are really good. So there has to be a balance.
Well, it kind of has to be, because how else are they going to make you part with your money if you can't have the cosmetics that are shit, because nobody would spend any money. So the cosmetics have to be great. They're gonna. That has to be
a balance. There has to be cosmetics you can get for free and cosmetics you.
I mean, I agree. There should be cosmetics that you can earn that are also great, but it's also like you need to make things that people desire, right? That they see it and they have that FOMO and that they have that need and that want, that they're willing to part with their $20 or however much they're charging for Diablo 4 microtransactions these days, or anything like Fortnite. It's like you need to tap into that innate desire that people have to be Goku or to be Vader or, you know, to be Indiana Jones, and are willing to spend the money. Otherwise, nobody's going to spend any money. So, you know, I guess the lesson here is dinosaur mounts, charge as much as you want because people will buy them, I guess. But I'm immune from this, because I don't care about cosmetics. I don't even care about how my character looks. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When I played Mass Effect, I used the default character. I don't care. Like, I played so many hours of Warzone and so many hours of PUBG, didn't spend a dime. No, hey, you want to spend $10 to make your gun red? Don't give a shit. You ain't getting my money. There's yet to be a single thing that any of these publishers have ever put out that makes me say, you know what? Here's $20. Nothing. And it's not like I don't like Star Wars or Indiana Jones or any of that stuff. It's like, one, I don't play Fortnite. And even if I did, and when I did play Fortnite, I use the default character. Because I'm not spending any money. If I don't have to spend it, look, I am kind of cheap when it comes to that. And I don't even know what they could possibly do to get me to spend money on this stuff. You know? Sure, I'll buy DLC because it's an extension of the game. There's new things to do. But, you know, I've played tons of hours of plenty of multiplayer games with microtransactions and cosmetics. I didn't buy a goddamn thing. So I thank all of you who are spending money and, you know, letting these games be free to play so I can spend hundreds of hours playing them and do it all for free. So, Mr. Mistapisk says, campaign footage already? Well, yeah, I mean, I played Black Ops 6 last night, so I figured I'd capture some footage, and it is just of, like, the first hour. And no subtitles, so some people might say spoilers, but you're not really knowing what's going on, but yes. But anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. Hope the show will, you know, even make your day even brighter and better. Do us a big favor. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You can also consider subscribing to the Patreon, which patreon.com/XB2, where, like Jez said, we just had a Patreon episode with Tom Henderson where we talked about Xbox, the future there, what PlayStation's doing. You know, Tom's really clued in on the PlayStation stuff. Ubisoft, Call of Duty, and just random things with Tom Henderson. I thought it was a really good show. So check that out. Should be available to everybody sometime next week. But Jez, before we get everything going, we do have a sponsor for this episode, yeah?
We do indeed, and it's our illustrious friends over at Manscaped. Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. The game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver is your go-to for precision and style every time. So what makes the Chairman Pro stand out? Well, it's all about versatility and precision, of course. Comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. You just have... Sorry. You have the skin-safe 4-blade foil for that close, smooth shave when you're looking to go completely clean. And if a clean shave isn't your style, that's okay. You switch to the skin-safe stubble trimmer to keep your stubble looking sharp and polished. This ad read's hard to say, man.
I mean, it seems like it. You're just stumbling over your words.
There's a lot of sounds and, sounds overlapping. So I think I'm doing pretty well considering that. So, yes, the skin-safe stubble trimmer to keep your stubble looking sharp and polished. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code XB2 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code XB2 at manscaped.com. And thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. So yeah, guys, the Chairman Pro, I've got one here, Ron.
You got one?
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's so like I'm someone who often uses traditional razors on the neck, because I do have a big beard. So I've got my Beard Hedger Pro for trimming the big beard. And then you want to do your neck and keep your neck smooth, right? Which is why you use a razor. But razors suck because you have to replace them all the time, and you have to get all the hair out of them and stuff, and it's a nightmare and a pain. So the Chairman Pro is a much, much better solution, and it is quite honestly fantastic. And I really love that we're sponsored by Manscaped, because like if we were sponsored by, I don't know, one of those mobile games or something, I feel like a fraud for saying you should play this mobile game. But I never feel like a fraud when I say you should buy Manscaped, because the products are actually fantastic. So yeah, that's Manscaped, and you check them out at manscaped.com with the checkout code XB2. It supports the show, and the products are genuinely great. I actively use them myself all the time for every aspect of my life now. I'm a Manscaped addict, so yeah, thanks to them for sponsoring the show. And we've also got some Patreon shoutouts.
Yeah, that's right.
My lovely Patreon peeps.
Patreon Xbox MVPs or Xbox 2 MVPs. We have iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Just James 93, Jay Peltier, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09 C Mine, James Wiseau, Trickster for Trey, Will Hernandez, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Redonks, RS Donks, Randall Thor 19, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, Catriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duel, Frank Mariano, Preview Bro King, Asa T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wargaman, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Adam Bartolo, Darren Tropy, Prof JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys for supporting the Xbox 2 and what we do here. We appreciate you all very much. So, yeah, where do we want to go first? Everborn Sagas in chat talking about Sonic X Shadows doing $1 million in day one, which is great because it seems like Sega's on fire, right? You want to talk about publishers that are on the upswing versus publishers that are on the downswing, right? You have Sega doing amazing. Metaphor sold 1 million already. So did like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Now Sonic 1 million, right? Like Sega seems to be killing it, just in the same kind of breath as like Capcom is, where Capcom's doing really well. But then you look at people that aren't doing very well, like Ubisoft, and they ain't doing so well. And we'll get to them in a minute because I do have to say congrats to my buddy Everborn because he smashed his Kickstarter goal for his empire that he's building. So congrats to Everborn there. However, Everborn, he's a Sonic fan, right? He's also one of the biggest conspiracy nuts in gaming that I know. He posted his first gameplay clip of Sonic and Shadow, and it was a clip of Shadow. And I said to him, it's pretty interesting that you're immediately going to Shadow's campaign and you're skipping the Sonic stuff. I thought you were a Sonic fan. And he didn't like that I said that to him. So, Sega doing well. You know what? Let's just talk about Ubisoft since we're talking about this stuff. Because you know what? Fuck Ubisoft.
Oh.
They're in my shit list now. I know how you were always very much like, Ubisoft, their games I don't really care about. And I was always like, hey, I like some of their games. I like the Far Cry games. I played the Divisions and stuff. And Assassin's Creed games are always fun. But man, Ubisoft has gotten onto my shit list. Specifically because my game of the year so far, the year's not over, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which I thought was immaculate and a game that everybody should play. Apparently only 1 million of us have bought the game. Well, that wasn't enough for good old Ubisoft, because what is ever good enough for them? And what is ever good enough for any of these publishers? Because it always seems like these games come out and it's like, fail to meet sales expectations. I mean, them and Square Enix are basically, two peas in a pod, essentially, when it comes to this shit. Every time Square Enix puts out a game, they're always like, didn't meet sales expectations, And Ubisoft's, they're going through some bad times. Their stock price is super low. Star Wars Outlaws didn't sell what it should have, especially for a Star Wars game. They delayed Assassin's Creed. A lot of Ubisoft games aren't selling well. The sharks are circling the body because they smell blood. And here's this one great game that they had put out, and they kind of just let it die. They didn't put it on Steam because they're using their own PC launch. Like, look, if you're not launching your games on Steam, what the fuck are you doing? Seriously. If you're making PC games, but you're not launching them day one on Steam, you're just asking for problems at this point. Like, most of the industry has bent the knee to Lord Gaben and Steam, right? Unless you're getting a huge bag from Tim Sweeney in the Epic store. Like, I think Silent Hill 2, I could be mistaken. Is Silent Hill 2 only available on the Epic store? Did they take a bag?
No. Silent Hill 2 is on Steam.
Okay, so I wasn't sure about that. But
I don't buy games on Epic.
I mean, there are some games that do take that bag from Epic. Yeah, I think that's also a little bit different than something like Alan Wake 2, where Epic literally published the game. I think that's obviously different. Like, well, they published it, they're going to put it in their own store. But sometimes it's like, you're just flirting with disaster here, because something like Prince of Persia, which, yes, it is a classic franchise and something that a lot of people do like, it's also something that needs a lot of word of mouth to really push it. And in a genre that I don't really think most people care too much about, Metroidvania, it's like, here's this gem of a game, and it didn't sell enough. They wanted to do a sequel, and the team wanted to make a sequel, and Ubisoft's like, nah, we're gonna split you up into 3 different teams to try to do, like, oh, we're gonna make a Rayman game. Like, okay, look, I know there's a lot of Rayman fans. It's almost kind of like a Banjo thing. Does anybody really care about a Rayman game in the year 2024, the year of our Lord? No, I don't think so. I mean, you can already see what's going to happen. They're going to make this Rayman game, and then nobody's going to buy it, just like nobody's really bought Prince of Persia, and they're going to have to disband that team. Oh, then some of the team went to Ghost Recon for the next Ghost Recon. I forgot what happened to the last Ghost Recon. Oh, yeah, that's right. The last Ghost Recon was a disaster. and basically almost killed off the franchise for a long time. And I forget the third game that they moved him to, whatever. The point is, I know there are some people that do care. Look, maybe we need to talk about our Rayman bros. And it's not to say, like, I loved Rayman Legends. Absolutely.
Oh, no,
Rayman Legends is amazing. I guess
now.
I did. How many Rayman fans could I possibly upset, though? I mean, I didn't play the original Rayman, but I did love Rayman Legends to the point where I think I played it twice. But it's also one of those things where, like, do people really care in that amount of numbers to bring for a Rayman game? And then the other game was that, yes, Beyond Good and Evil sequel, the game that's been in development for 20 years, or apparently, or whatever it is. And it's like, is that game actually going to... How much money has been sent to that game? Surely, I can see the headlines now for whenever Beyond Good and Evil 2 comes out in 4 years. It's like, the game that's been 20 years in the making, $600 million of dev cost, and guess what? Nobody bought it either, and it failed to meet sales. You know what? I'm done with Ubisoft, Jez. I'm screw them, bro. They don't know what they got sometimes. They disband this team that made this great game that could continue to push it, and I'm just really upset with that. That's all I gotta say.
Well, Rand, I mean, you are right in the context of Ubisoft made its bed. I mean, I put a tweet out the other day where I was kind of like, because I was kind of like frustrated on your behalf, because I feel like a lot of commentators and reviewers have kind of gone to bat for this game, and it got it reviewed well, and a lot of people have even discussed it in the context of Game of the Year. So like, if the game didn't sell well, even though it's a high quality bar, it kind of feels like Ubisoft's fucking failed here to some degree, rather than the team that made the game. And the team that made the game has clearly been punished for it in some degree. Although it sounds like a lot of them been absorbed into other teams, or they're moving on to other projects, whatever. So far and so forth. But I've got Ubisoft sources as well, and recently I heard that Ubisoft has something of a Ubisoft legend has come out of retirement recently.
Okay. To make the studio, to make the publisher better?
Well, her name's Christine Burgess.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, so Christine Burgess was employee number 5 at Ubisoft.
Oh, so we're going back to like the OG times, huh?
Yeah, the OG times. So, and apparently she retired a few years ago. But given the crisis that Ubisoft is in, it seems that, at least from what I'm hearing, I'm still trying to verify if this is 100% accurate, but it sounds like she's coming back to help Ubisoft organize something. Now, Christine Burgess, from what I can tell, is kind of like an Amy Hood-like figure.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good at all.
She's a money.
She's a money person. Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
So if it's true that she's back at Ubisoft, specifically coming out of retirement to help the Guillermo family, you have to wonder, like, if it's true, is she there to architect massive layoffs? And I kind of feel like, from the people that I'm speaking to, it does sound like there is a fear that that's why she's coming back out of retirement, is to architect restructuring the company. And restructuring usually means layoffs, right? But the worst about all this is it's not the developers that have created the situation. It's 100% the people running the show that have created the situation. Like, apparently there's no centralized editorial team there at Ubisoft anymore, from what I've heard. Which means, like, things like Star Wars Outlaws, for example, there was no oversight with that game. And I've heard there was no audience testing with that game. And there was no bouncing of ideas or anyone sort of like saying, like, maybe this character should be more interesting, or maybe this gameplay element of the instant file stealth is not a good fucking idea. There was no one pushing back on any of that stuff, because there wasn't a team in place whose job it was to make those points. And not having those structures in place really does feel like a C-suite organizational issue to me. So I suppose with her coming back, he would have been on board as someone who is responsible for structuring the company for success. And let's face it, Ubisoft has had a long history of success for all of its failings, and ups and downs. It's had a long history of success. So if you want to take an optimistic view, maybe it's a good thing. And she's going to be like, oh, we're not going to fire anyone, but we're going to put this team in place and we're going to make this better, add some oversight here, blah, 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 blah. But if you want to take a more realistic, potentially cynical view, then she might be there to architect huge, massive layoffs and, maybe even restructure the company for an acquisition,
Oh, boy.
Because there was all those talks before about, how Sega had streamlined itself potentially to make itself look more attractive to a buyer. And, back then it was a buyer's market. And now, I suppose with the US election, there is some uncertainty about, what companies should do, I think. So, but at least in Ubisoft's case, I think they're in dire straits. And having an OG Ubisoft veteran come back specifically for this purpose does seem like something that's gonna have some kind of ramifications. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But yeah, Ubisoft's made its bed, and I said on Twitter, it's the inconsistency that AAA publishers aren't giving that are making people doubt their games. For example, take EA, for example. EA has completely destroyed Battlefield. And, they destroyed Battlefront.
Hey, Vince is going to save it, though. Vince is going to save it.
Well, this is the thing you see, right? Ubisoft doesn't have a Vince. So it's a lot, you can potentially apologize for EA and say, well, yeah, EA has done all these fuck-ups, but Vince's part of the business is the bit that was doing well, like Apex Legends and Jedi Survivor and all that kind of stuff. And now Vince can do that for them, but Ubisoft doesn't have that luxury. But even if you took Vince away, look at all the inconsistency EA's delivered over the years. Not just inconsistency, but disappointments. Oh, we're going to tease you by bringing a Dead Space remake back, but actually we're going to take it away again now because it didn't meet our unrealistic sales expectations. I think sometimes you have to invest in consistency to make people, when you're attaching your brand to a game, I want to believe in the brand that the game's attached to. So when EA announces a game, I am automatically skeptical based on the fact that it's EA. And with Ubisoft, I am automatically skeptical based on the fact it's Ubisoft. And, because they have delivered this spectacular inconsistency and this almost concerted effort towards delivering disappointment, and I think that's why PlayStation came down so hard on Concord, because I think a lot of other studios, we have seen free-to-play games. We have seen games go back to the drawing board and then re-emerge as free-to-play, or the other way around, or try and change the business model, mix it up and stuff like that. We've seen it in the past. We saw it with Multiverses, for example. Multiverses came out, it didn't blow up, but they took it back to the drawing board and then re-released it, right? But they didn't do it in such a quick sort of start kind of way. And we're still not 100% sure if Concord's even going to come back out. Maybe it just won't. Maybe it just dies, right? But I feel like the way that Sony came out so hard against that game was indicative of how much value Sony puts on consistency and having a consistent quality bar. And I feel like Nintendo as well also has this, we'll ship it when it's ready because we are so concerned about making sure we deliver a consistent quality bar, at least a minimum level of quality. Whereas EA and Ubisoft and some of these other publishers, you could argue Microsoft fell afoul of this as well. Although I'd argue there's some extraneous circumstances with Microsoft. But you can also argue Microsoft fell afoul of this as well, where it's they're always looking towards the next. They're not looking towards the next decade. They're always looking towards the next quarter. So the fact that a Redfall released, for example, is indicative of them just thinking we need to get this out so we can make up for what we lost in the last quarter. They didn't think about how much brand damage Redfall would do to Microsoft over the next 5-10 years. But I think PlayStation, Nintendo get that a lot better, but EA, Ubisoft, etc., they don't. And what we're seeing with Ubisoft now, especially because Microsoft has had a lot of wins and EA has had a lot of wins with, you know, Apex and whatever. And obviously there's FIFA Ultimate Team that can lean on that, and The Sims 4. Nobody ever talks about The Sims, but that game is fucking huge, and it has so much DLC, thousands of dollars of Sims 4 DLC that people buy non-stop. You know, it's like, what's the opposite of a microtransaction? Like macro transaction. That's kind of what you get with The Sims, right?
$90 dinosaur mount ain't micro.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and also Microsoft's got Call of Duty to lean back on. So like, even though like, if you could say like Xbox and EA have had its, you know, its challenges with regards to disappointment and consistency, Ubisoft is reaping. Ubisoft is an example of what we're seeing when you go way too far in that direction and you don't have anything to fall back on. The only thing that they've got to fall back on right now is Assassin's Creed, and they're gonna run that game into the ground because they're so desperate now.
Yeah, Tom Henderson said that the plan was they're gonna release like 10 Assassin's Creed games in the next 5 years or something.
That's obscene. It's absurd, man. And I think another key point is like for all the inconsistency from EA. I can't remember who shared this stat. Was it Stephen Totillo? I saw a tweet or a thread or something to this effect, but it was someone comparing.
Oh, that was huge. I think I sent that to you.
Oh yeah. You sent it me. It was Daniel Ahmad, and he showed like what's the revenue per employee at EA versus Ubisoft.
It was like 19,000 employees at Ubisoft, but they only make 2.5 billion in revenue. But EA has only 13,000 employees, but they make 7.5 billion dollars in revenue. So they have 6,000 less employees, but they basically make like over basically 3 times as much money. So
yeah, and which is obviously better margins, right? And also like Ubisoft's got so many employees spread all over the place, and I really get a sense from talking to some sources that they feel directionless in some corners. Is, you know, and like I say, they don't have a FIFA or a Call of Duty or a Fortnite to fall back on. So I mean, they've got like Rainbow Six Siege, but it's not as big as some of these other games, and it doesn't have a mobile version, does it? I don't think Rainbow Six Siege has a mobile version. Maybe it does. I don't know.
Might. I don't know.
But yeah, point being that they make way less per employee than EA does or Microsoft does or some of these other publishers. So Ubisoft is kind of like the dire worst case scenario that a AAA game publisher could see itself in. So it'd be really interesting to see if they can turn things around, because I think like they've got issues from a structural perspective, an editorial perspective. You know, like the constant, you know, back and forth. Like the whole thing with The Division, it was like, oh, we're canceling the live service for Division 2, and then like, oh, actually, we're not canceling it. You know, it's like, who's making these fucking decisions? Do you not have a plan? You know, it feels like they're really scatterbrained. So I don't know. It is what it is, and I suppose we'll have to wait and see how it comes. But I do apologize profusely to you, Rand, for Prince of Persia, because I know you really, really like that game, but also Splinter Cell, which probably will never come out.
No, I mean, it better come out. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, to be fair, Tom Henderson did say on Xbox 2+1 that he was confident that Splinter Cell will come out.
He basically said that Ubisoft announced it because of him. Like, he forced them to announce the game, but it was way too early to announce, which is why everybody's like, where the F is Splinter Cell? But he said that he expects like Splinter Cell just like release in 2026. So we're even still, but I mean, even if it does release in 2026, we got to be getting close to the reveal of the game, right? Maybe next year at some point, you figure or something. So either way, I wanted to talk about the games we've been playing, or at least the games I've been playing, because we know, Jez, you're playing Dragon Age. You can't talk about it until next week when we do Xbox 2. I don't know if you're playing anything else. Has it kind of just been Dragon Age taking up your time, essentially?
Yeah, nothing new. I've been playing a little bit of Space Marine again. I want to finish that. I've been playing some more Silent Hill because that was updated.
Yes.
With performance improvements because it runs like crap on my PC, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't run like crap on my PC, but it does. So it was updated with some performance improvements, and it does handle a lot better now. So I've been playing a bit of Silent Hill. I've also been playing some more Frostpunk 2 because that was also updated with performance improvements. The same kind of performance improvements Silent Hill needed. I've been playing some more Frostpunk 2. I really love that game, but the Frostpunk 2 discourse has been kind of disappointing because a lot of people expected something else out of that game, I think. But they've gone a lot because like the original game was a lot more intimate. Like you've just got a little settlement, you've got to save them. But this is more like we grow in a country rather than a city. So there's been some discourse about Frostpunk 2, but I like it for what it is, you know. But that's about it. I've downloaded a game called Kill Night, which I want to play. I think I mentioned that before.
Right.
I've also downloaded Call of Duty, which I think you're going to talk about in a minute. And also, dude, what the hell, right? This is a slight tangent for just a minute.
Okay.
But that's pretty much all I've been playing. But I know you're going to talk about Call of Duty in a sec. But on a slight tangent, what is the deal with installing Call of Duty on Xbox? Because I went to install it, and it was a huge, massive list of like different packages you have to install.
Well, they're
it's
optional.
Like Call of Duty Update 10,
well,
11, 12, 13. What is
well,
all
no,
that
those
stuff?
I don't think you need to install. Like with this because
it doesn't give you any information about what those are.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think you need them, and I don't know what they are either. But with this one, because it's the launcher, right? So like Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6 are on this launcher, which they have updated the like front end user interface when you launch it, because before it was a little bit confusing. Now it's actually serviceable. It's actually very usable where you can choose the game you want to play or whatever. So when I loaded up Call of Duty, it was easy. Like, okay, here's the Black Ops panel. Let me click on that, and then it loads up the Black Ops game. But like when you download it, you can manage your settings and you can download what you want, right? With Black Ops 6, you can just download the campaign if you want. Or if you're just going to play the multiplayer, you can just download the multiplayer and not have to download the campaign. The campaign's like 50 gigs. The multiplayer is like 40. So, I saved a lot by not installing the multiplayer. But then there's also like Modern Warfare 3 campaign, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer. Because I know if you have them all installed, like if you were to install everything from Modern Warfare 3 and everything from Modern Warfare 2, it would probably, you're probably looking at like over 200 gigabytes of data, right? Just for that, if you wanted those 3 games. But if you're just with Black Ops, you can pick and choose what parts of the game you want installed, which is great because I don't want multiplayer installed because I'm not going to play it. I don't want it taking up space. But I know what you're talking about because I did see those. There was like bonus content or extra content. It was like, whatever. But I don't really think it matters. I don't even know what they're really for, honestly. And I'm pretty sure you don't need it. So,
fair enough.
You just download what you want. So
I just want to play some zombies, man. Really, I'm not interested in the campaign.
But here's the thing: I don't even know
zombies.
what you need to download for zombies because there's no zombies. It's probably just the multiplayer you need to download for zombies. So,
right.
But anyways,
okay.
I started the week out. I played the Alan Wake 2 Lake expansion, or the Lake House expansion, as it's called.
I've heard mixed things about that. Give us your opinion, buddy.
Alan Wake 2 was my game of the year last year. And I think it's like probably my top 5 for games of this generation. Like, I loved it so much. And I was really looking forward to this expansion because I thought it would be girthy. I thought it would be lengthy and give us some nice teases and stuff. Girthy,
Girthy? Lengthy?
Lengthy, girthy. Yeah.
Excuse
me, indeed. I thought it would be substantial. You know what I mean? Because the first DLC, which was kind of irreverent and kind of over the top and a little bit ridiculous, was kind of 3 vignettes. So they weren't really...
Excuse me?
However you say that word.
Vignettes.
Vignettes. They were like 3...
French.
It was like 3 short vignettes where like one you play as the waitress... And the second one, you played as Jesse Jesse from Control, and the one that I really liked was the one where you played as like Iceman from the Iceman movies, and it really kind of
Ashmore.
Yeah, Sean Ashmore. You played as Sean Ashmore, and they kind of tied it in a little bit to Quantum Break, a little bit, which really got my geek in me to be like, oh man, okay, they are kind of talking about like, oh, Sean Ashmore and the girl, Beth from Quantum Break, but it wasn't really anything you were supposed to like take super seriously, even though there were some Easter eggs. It was just kind of a fun romp to get through. This one was supposed to be, all right, this is kind of a continuation of the story. There's going to be some lore dumps here and stuff, which there are, but it takes place before Alan Wake 2 even really begins. You play a different character, one of the characters that shows up in the main game, and you explore this lake house, which is a laboratory, which is kind of built around Cauldron Lake, because Cauldron Lake is where the shadow threshold is situated, where all the crazy stuff goes on. And it's set up in a way where there's like 5 floors, and you can't access all the floors. You need to get like security cards. And there's like one new enemy that's introduced because there's a new antagonist in this. Was that like there's an antagonist, but there's still like the shadow enemies from before, the Taken that were overtaken by the shadow, but there is like a new enemy, like this paint monster, because there is this person like Alan Wake who can, whatever he paints kind of comes true or has been true. One of these things, and this is where it all kind of like breaks down, is like something went wrong. So there's a lot of exploration trying to find out, okay, I mean, the security card to get to level 3, a lot of reading documents. So if that's not your bag of like reading more about the lore, about what's going in here, you may not like it, because if you played Alan Wake 2, the combat in Alan Wake 2 was kind of sparse. There'd be sections of the game where there really wasn't a lot of combat taking place. It was more atmospheric, kind of keeping you on the edge of the seats for when there was combat going to take place. So the actual combat scenarios in this game, there aren't that many, and they're really kind of few and far between, especially in the beginning. So I could see somebody in the beginning kind of being frustrated, especially if they don't care about reading all the documents and kind of being immersed into the world, like looking around and being like, what's going on here? I haven't fought an enemy in 45 minutes. And I think my playthrough maybe took like 2 hours. But I mean, if you knew exactly what to do and where you were going, you could probably finish in 40 minutes if you just wanted to beeline it. It does have like a tease for Control 2. There is something that you can access where you kind of have a conversation with a character from Control, which was really interesting. And then like the game,
play Control.
Control was a really, really, really fun game. And then the DLC sort of ends after that. So I don't know. I liked it. I didn't love it. I didn't love it like I loved the main game. So I'd probably, like I said, I don't know, maybe 7.5. I don't think it reached high enough to get anything more of that. It's like, yeah, I mean, this was fun, and as someone who does enjoy all that stuff, I was having a good time, but I was just like, I don't know, maybe my expectations were different. Like I sort of expected more from this. So yeah, I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it, right? And I know there are some people out there that really don't like it, but then there are some people out there that really love it. So you're going to have to find your own happy medium with Alan Wake's 2 DLC. And now, of course, I sit here and I'm like, when's Control 2 coming out? When's Alan Wake 3 coming out? Right now I'm going to sit here and wait probably 4 years for Control 2 and then another 4 or 5 years for Alan Wake 3 if they ever do another one. So I guess maybe that's one of the other things. It's like, man, this is the last Alan Wake piece of content we're going to get for a long time. And it's just like, oh, well, I don't know. I thought maybe there would be like, when I think that when they originally talked about the lake house at first, they mentioned, it was going to be like Alan Wake and Saga Anderson coming back together to do something. But Saga Anderson's not even in it, and Alan Wake, you do find some of his pages. You know how like he writes these pages, so like you do hear his voiceover of his pages that are written, but like you don't play as him, which makes sense because this takes place before he gets out of where he's stuck. I don't know. Maybe I'm just disappointed. It was a new character and it took place before the game. You know what I mean? Because it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is a cool little diversion, but I don't know. I wanted something extra, like something after. I thought it was going to be set after the game was over, and it was like that's kind of what I was looking forward to. It was like, oh, what is going on after the end of Alan Wake 2? Instead, it was like this is what's going on, sidestepping the beginning of the game, and I don't know. I think my expectations were a little bit loftier. I don't know. Yeah, it's still enjoyable for what it is, though.
It happens.
But the game I was looking forward to the most, and I think as most people, because man, the the discussion about Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is definitely an interesting one. I guess you could start off by saying, one, this is make or break it, Jez. How many times have we heard this for every single Xbox exclusive that comes out? Hellblade 2's make it or break it. Starfield's make it or break it. Halo Infinite's make it or break it. Forza Horizon's make it or break it. But this one's interesting because not only is Call of Duty make it or break it, but it's make it or break it for Game Pass. It's make it or break it, and it's like either it's going to destroy Call of Duty because everyone's going to play it for free, or it's going to destroy Game Pass because nobody's going to sign up for it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the discussion, and I have seen there are some publications that have put out some reports from analysts like, oh, Microsoft's going to lose 6 million sales of Call of Duty Black Ops, but they'll gain anywhere between 2 to 4 million subscribers. And is that worth it? Losing 6 million sales to gain 4 million subscribers. And it's kind of that, I think Pachter said Microsoft would be fine if they had like 20% growth in Game Pass or whatever. But then it's like, if you have all these new people or whatever playing for free, are they spending money on microtransactions? Is there a $100 mount in this game for multiplayer that we don't know about that people are going to be buying soon, Jez, where they can make up some money in that way? It's just a lot. How do you feel about like the talking points of Call of Duty outside of what the game is? Because I'll talk about that in a minute. How do you feel about that aspect of COD? Of like the Game Pass? Because it's not only like how people, but it's the marketing, right? I've seen a lot of talk about why isn't Xbox branded? Why isn't it Game Pass branded? But then it seems like they are doing a lot, right? I saw a Variety article that talked about like the marketing budget for this game is on par with like a major motion picture, like a Wolverine and Deadpool. There's clearly a lot of money poured into it. I see all these new GIFs that they're doing where they like replacing famous GIFs with the character from the ads in this. So there's like a lot of stuff going on. But I mean, what's your take on all this stuff?
Well, it is funny. Like some of the articles you've seen go out there, like it's make or break, and it's just like, and also the whole discourse around is PlayStation going to make more money from Microsoft off this, and it's just like, man, it feels like a lot of people are jumping through hoops and doing mental gymnastics to figure out what the negative angle is going to be. And the problem with this is you can find a negative angle no matter which direction it goes in. So like if Game Pass blows up, the negative angle will be Call of Duty sales destroyed by Game Pass and Microsoft's making no money now and all this stuff. If it doesn't blow up on Game Pass, then it'll be like, oh my God, Game Pass is doomed. This is the make or break moment and Game Pass is now broken. So like, no matter what happens moving forward with Call of Duty and Game Pass, there is a way to spin a negative out of that whole narrative, right? And part of it's Microsoft's fault because they're not transparent about what the numbers are. They're not transparent about what their goals are for it and all that kind of stuff. So it makes it easy for detractors to fill in the blanks with FUD, basically. But and I'm just sitting there as a gamer and a consumer and thinking, I don't have to spend $70 to get access to this game. I haven't paid for a Call of Duty in years. And that's not just like, being a reviewer or whatever. I haven't been interested to buy Call of Duty in years because eventually I got fatigued with the fact that, you know, the consistency of the quality was all over the place, and also it just felt like I was buying the same game every year. And then I just got into Battlefield, which I felt was more interesting at the time. And now Battlefield's fallen off the cliff. I'm more interested in coming back, and as a consumer, I'm glad that I don't have to necessarily pay for it. So as a consumer, I don't know how you could spin what the consumer's getting as a negative in any direction. But like from an analytical business perspective, I think there's a negative spin you could put on it either way. And I don't know why we can't just be like, aren't these services coexist? Because I think there's going to be an audience who will want to buy Call of Duty, and there's going to be an audience who will get it on Game Pass, and there'll be an audience that get it on PlayStation, and there'll be an audience who eventually get it on Switch too. There's a huge audience of people playing it on Steam, you know, and there'll be an audience that's playing it on Xbox Play Anywhere, which I'm probably going to do, and there'll be an audience that's going to, you know, play it on PC Game Pass. And it's just like, this is a game that's probably big enough where it's like, you know, it doesn't matter how, where, when, and why you play it. What's important is the engagement. And it sort of comes back to the $90 Warcraft horse dinosaur mount. Is that at the end of the day, the biggest games in the world, Rand,
yes,
they are free. The biggest games in the world are free, which means that above all, you want ease of access. So, like, if you are making it easier for people to access with Game Pass, potentially those players will take the saving they made from not buying the game, and then they'll buy a Rhea Ripley skin, and then buy the chair shot execution and stuff like that. Because for a lot of people, they're more willing to spend little amounts of money over a longer period of time than a big one-time upfront cost. So, like, there is a real potentiality here that Call of Duty in Game Pass could well and truly have its cake and eat it, where it's benefiting from a new audience in Game Pass, and it's benefiting from the audience who want to get on Steam because they refuse to play anywhere else, and it's benefiting from, you know, everything. And, you know, when it's on the Switch too, which it most likely will be, that'll be a completely new audience as well. So, you know, I think no matter which way you look at it, this game looks like it's going to be an absolutely massive success story. But I do know that Microsoft's going to be looking very hard at the data, because they're going to be interested in, is this strategy bringing in new users? Because that's what it's all about for Microsoft now. It's new users, new players. Where are the new players? Have we just cannibalized our existing players? And that kind of thing. Like when they put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, I know for a fact they were looking at, are these new users, or are these just Xbox users that have moved across to another system, you know, because they're multi-platform gamers or something like that, you know? And if like the data comes back and says to them, well, all these Sea of Thieves players were actually just Xbox players who are now playing on PlayStation, or they're PC players that are now playing on PlayStation, then it's not lucrative for them. But if it's like Game Pass is going to open up Call of Duty to an audience of people that may be interested to dabble, but not interested enough to drop the $70. And I think that's the way it's going to go. And it's going to be like, this is going to open the game up to a new audience. Maybe those players would never have spent $70, but maybe they'll spend $10 on a battle pass, or $10 on a skin, or something like that. You know, like your Genshin Impacts and Fortnites and all these other games that are free to play. The idea is to get as many people in as possible, and then upsell. You know, like you get people into the restaurant, and then you try and sell them alcohol at $8 a cocktail, or $15 a cocktail if you're in New York.
Well, I mean, you mentioned like Steam, and apparently it's already doing pretty well on Steam. I think it's already broken Modern Warfare 3's high on Steam. I saw some. What's it at right now? Can you check it right now? What the player count is for Black Ops 6 on Steam? So when I saw it, like before we started the show, it was like 250,000 people.
Steam.
And
Let's
you
have
know,
a quick look to see.
That's not PC Game Pass. And is this game available on BattleNet?
It is. I think. Let me just
is?
check BattleNet as well. So blah, 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 blah. Black Ops 6 Steam stats. God, everything requires Cloudflare these days. Or maybe it's because I'm logged into my VPN actually. So Call of Duty Black Ops 6 campaign is, oh, that's weird. I think it's weird because it's splitting it by edition or something. I can't actually find the player stats.
Okay.
Right now, it's bugging out or some shit. I don't know.
So
it says number 1 in top seller. Oh no, I can't see it. Sorry, 340, 308. No, wait, what? I'm confused.
You're confused. Jez is confused trying to find the number, guys. Our bad.
I'm trying to find it.
So, I mean, they spent a lot of money on marketing. This is like a game that's been 4 years in development. I mean, I get like the talking points of like, what's this going to do for Game Pass and what's going to do for the game? Because you're talking about a game that is the best-selling game pretty much year in and year out, outside of like maybe like the year Hogwarts Legacy came out. And it's like, yeah, this is like really the first chance you get to see, well, what would Game Pass do to that game? Is it really worth it to lose the number of sales you would have gotten versus how many new subscribers a Game Pass you would get? And if you are getting new players, or if people are no longer purchasing, like myself, I would have bought this game to play through the campaign, but I don't have to because it's on Game Pass, right? And I'm sure there are other people who maybe, I doubt anybody out, there are not that many people who are going to just play through the campaign. Obviously, everything's about multiplayer and zombies and stuff, but there might be somebody who spent $70 to play this game, who would play multiplayer and zombies, who doesn't have to spend that money now. But are they still going to spend that $70 in microtransactions in the game? And then if you have a new audience who's going to play this game because it's free, then are they going to spend more money? Or are they actually going to spend money for the first time? So I guess it's going to be interesting, like you said, data set wise for Microsoft and Activision to see how does that affect Game Pass. How does that affect other games within Game Pass? Are people now being like, oh man, look at all this stuff. I can play COD, but these other games, right? Which is one of the reasons people harped on Microsoft's marketing. Like, well, why wasn't it at least Xbox Game Pass branded? We saw some things that were, but like usually the stuff on the official Activision channels or even like, you know, on TV or ads or whatever really didn't mention that. You know, if like when Sony had the marketing for this, they only really mentioned PlayStation, even though everybody knew it was exclusive. So people thought like it would just be the Xbox branded thing, and it really didn't seem like they did that for trailers and stuff that were outside of Xbox's own channels, like their Twitter and their YouTube and stuff. And, you know, there's been a lot of speculation about reasons for that, what have you. You know, is there some deal? Is it just like it's one of those things where I've seen people go as far as say, well, they don't actually want people subscribing to Game Pass for this game because they don't want to lose the sales, you know, or the idea of like, well, Microsoft didn't want to brand it with Xbox because they wanted to let everybody know that they could, it's not an exclusive, whatever anybody comes up with in their mind about like how and why they marketed it. Like they did spend a lot of money on it. Now, as for the game itself, obviously I can't speak to multiplayer zombies. And I can't even really speak for like the entire campaign package because I haven't finished it yet. But I have played the first like 4 missions so far, and it is fantastic, Jez. It is the return of Call of Duty that I've wanted, because last year was so abysmal. The campaign in Modern Warfare 3 was so awful. And I've always teetered on the thought of, well, they made it in a year and a half, which is kind of crazy because most games take 4 years to make these days, and even indie games you can't make an indie game in a year and a half, but somehow they were able to pull off what they did in a year and a half. So it's like, I should almost be impressed they were able to make what they did. But if you like line them up in a row and say which one of these are the best, like Modern Warfare 3 is easily the worst. Like it felt like they didn't even try. Like it was phoned in, and then like, okay, in a year and a half, it probably they weren't able to realize their vision, and it was just like, all right, we need to just nail this. Grab some maps from Warzone, put them in the game. Like half the game was these Warzone maps, right? And it was just like, man, like even the like traditional Call of Duty levels in that Modern Warfare 3 game were pretty boring, which is something that you don't want in a Call of Duty game because you want over-the-top action, you want constant set pieces, right? You want flashy guns, like a Michael Bay movie, essentially, right? Well, I'm happy to say that we're returning back to what makes the Call of Duty campaigns great. And I think I've always said I was always more of a Modern Warfare guy than a Black Ops guy. But man, like they're really kind of leaning into the spy aspect of Black Ops, which I appreciate because out of the 4 levels that I played, like 2 of them have heavily stealth influenced sections that you can get through without learning any enemies. And I always love those options of, hey, you can go loud if you want, or if you want to sneak through and get to get to this place that you need to get to, you can do so. I like giving those options of like, oh no, I'm just gonna go crazy and just gun everybody down, or like I'm gonna sneak through it and be like Sam Fisher. Since I can't get a Ubisoft game to make me a Sam Fisher Splinter Cell, then I'll get my Sam Fisher in my Call of Duty, right? So, like right off the get go, the game looks great. The HDR is popping. Like I watched the like kind of the replay of this in the OBS, and I'm like, man, this looks so much better on the TV with HDR and stuff. But yeah, the first 4 missions are fantastic. Like it's everything I knew Call of Duty could be. But there's a lot of also mission variety. Like in the 3rd mission of the game, you kind of invade this Bill Clinton event, and the Bill Clinton's on stage because this takes place during that era, and he's like waving, and you're trying to get to this underground CIA black site, right? So there's like multiple ways to investigate this, which is interesting because Call of Duty doesn't give you multiple ways to access like a main objective. They might be like, oh, get into this house, and they're like, you can either go through the front door or you can go through the find a window at whatever. But this is like investigating different aspects, which they normally don't give you. And then you kind of get where you need to go, and there's like, well, you could go loud or you go stealth. Like, so the gameplay elements that give you enough of that, that play it your way type thing with, cool guns and cool, like little gadgets that you can use. And then in between each mission, you're kind of at your base, this like safe house where all the characters kind of mingle, right? And they kind of give you an overview about what's going on because there's like, is there a mole in the CIA? Who could it be? Who's this like, the evil group in this is like the Pantheon or the mercenary group that's kind of like you're fighting against, and it's like, who are they? Who's the mole? And there's a lot of like cool spy stuff that goes on, and you can talk to each of the characters, and there's like, I wouldn't say dialogue choices, but you can ask them more about maybe themselves or why they're here. And then the safe house even is kind of built up where you can expand it because one of the things that they add in this game is the ability like to find money. So sometimes in the game you'll come across like, there's like $500 on this desk that you can pick up, or there's like a safe that you can crack, and in the safe is like $1,000. So what you can do is you can build these extra bases to your base. That will give you what would be like the perks you would get in multiplayer. So if you spent the money, you could have 25% more health, or you'd have the weapon sway be 30% less, or you can carry more gadgets. So the more money that you find during the campaigns, and the more safes that you actually do find, which gives you an incentive to maybe explore more places, because it's not like, and there's a ton of these. There's like, I think like 25 or 30 of these perks that you can use to make your character better, right? But you don't, at least as far as I can tell, because I've bought like 4 or 5 of them, you don't have to choose like, I can buy all these, but I can only have 2 equipped at a time. It seems like you can have as many as you want as long as you buy them. So then it gives you an incentive to maybe explore more of the map, to find more of the money, or to actually like kind of find these safes to get this big cash output so you can make your character better, so you can, take less damage, or be able to, put more armor in, or like carry more gadgets and stuff. It is just a well thought out, like extreme action, because even like in the first couple levels, like the set pieces are off, they're awesome. And I was just like smiling when I was playing this, because I'm like, oh man, this is exactly what I wanted. This is the reason why I play these Call of Duty campaigns. And they've kind of gotten away from that in recent years, because of the turbulent dev cycle. COVID kind of interrupted it, and then they had to release a game every single year because they make too much money. So sometimes you're just not able to kind of put your full effort into it, or maybe realize your full vision because you're on a timetable compared to like other games that have like, oh well, you got 4 years to make this. It was like so like, I don't know, because the Call of Duty campaign, say what you will about them, but when you go back to the 360 gen, you look at them, all of them are like super highly rated. They're in the 90s. Modern Warfare 1 and 2 and the Black Ops games, like people love them. And even some of the early Xbox One's, campaigns from Infinite Warfare, which was a fantastic science fiction campaign, to like Advanced Warfare. They're actually good. They're fun to play through, but they kind of got away from that in recent years. And I feel like they're back. They gave Treyarch enough time to kind of do what Call of Duty does best, but then also do some other things. Like one of the levels is kind of this big open world where you can get through. So like you have these levels that are maybe short to sweet, where it's like action packed. You start from the go and it's like boom, you're going after the enemies and stuff here. Then they slow it down for the next level where it's like stealth, but you could go super fast. And there's like some really interesting stuff going on, and then like a big level where there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's just 4 levels in. I think there's like 10 or 12 levels, and people say that they kind of get crazy towards the end. So right now, like just where I'm at, I'm loving this campaign. I think it's absolutely great. I think it's a fun time so far. I'm interested in seeing like where the story goes and all those different stuff, but yeah, super happy with what they've done so far, Jez.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm really excited to try it out. I haven't enjoyed a Call of Duty campaign probably since Call of Duty 4, the original Call of Duty 4. But I want to ask you something that people have also asked in chat.
Okay.
Do I need to have played the other Black Ops games to get what's going on? Because this is Black Ops 6. Do I need to have played all other 5 Black Ops games to get what's going on?
I mean, to understand maybe you would have a really deeper appreciation of obviously what's going on, because Woods is here from the previous Black Ops games, and Adler's here, right, from the last one. And obviously it's like a continuation, because this takes place during like the 90s and, the Desert War, where the last game I think took place in, the Cold War, so like during the 80s. But I think they do a good enough job where it's like this story here is just about this and that. Like it's just about, oh, maybe there's a mole within the CIA, and there's this mercenary company, and kind of we're trying to figure out that. Where I don't really think you need to fully be like, what is everything going on with Frank Woods and Adler and the whole story of Call of Duty Black Ops 1 through Black Ops 6 and all that stuff. I'm sure there are going to be Easter eggs, and the story is going to, link up for like the fans that are like super into it. And at worst, maybe you could find a video on YouTube that could quickly explain the Black Ops timeline. But, it's been, last time I played a Black Ops game was Black Ops Cold War in 2020, and I remember pieces of it. So even when I started playing this, it's like I know who Adler is and I know who Woods is. So it's like, but I don't think it is like a requirement. Like, and I was gonna say something about something else, but no, I wouldn't say it's 100% requirement to enjoy the game, because you get into the game and just have fun running around doing all that stuff. At least not yet. Maybe it becomes more apparent later on that like, oh, you really need to understand all the Black Ops timeline and stuff. But so far, I don't think so. I think it just gives you a deeper appreciation of what's being done here. So I don't know. I'd be interesting to see what you think if you go through it and you're just like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I haven't played these games or whatever, right? So
yeah, I mean, I know there's the dude with the, Bryce or whatever his name is. Well, that's like Modern Warfare track, right? Like it kind of feels like there is this sort of, if you haven't kept up with it, then you kind of lost a little bit. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We'll let me take some look at some of these super chats. We'll get some of these answered. We got Silas, who's been a member for 12 months. So seriously, I'm worried for the state of the world. When Fallout 5 releases, will we be playing it at home or in a Fallout shelter? Not kidding. It's crazy out there right now. The state of the world and everything that's going on here. Speaking of Fallout, though, Jez.
I try to ignore what's going on in the world.
Fallout Day just happened. What? So can you tell us what happened at Fallout Day? The first inaugural really. Fallout Day. You have no idea what happened at it?
I don't know. Like, I didn't track it. Been too busy this week.
I think it was just a bunch of Fallout 76 stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything like some people were saying, "Oh my God, they're going to announce a remake of Fallout 1 and 2," and it's like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not.
I saw there was some stuff about the ghoul they're adding.
Yes.
You can play as a ghoul in Fallout 76 from next year, I think. Or was it this year? Like this year? I think it's from next year. Man, okay, so we get in. Okay, Samuel Tolbert, Windows Central, wrote an article on this. So shout out to Samuel Tolbert.
Sam's always doing great work on Windows Central.
Yeah, he does. He works very hard. He's currently reviewing Dragon Age for us, actually. So, Fallout 76 getting a giant snake raid boss. I think they already showed that, and we're also getting radioactive fishing.
Okay.
So that's bringing me back to the game.
Yeah,
baby.
fishing, bringing Jez back to everything.
Yeah, so we're getting radioactive fishing, and we're also getting playable ghouls, which I suppose absorb radiation rather than get damaged by it. Although there are perk cards in Fallout 76 which boost your damage if you're irradiated. No, they boost your damage if you've got no health. And if you take radiation damage, it lowers your maximum health. So you see people walking around with like 90% radiation with like 2% health. It's just so they can get the damage boost and then try not to get one-shotted. But yeah, it's 76 ticking over pretty nicely. It's become really popular again since the TV show.
Which is supposed to start filming soon, like maybe next month.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see. I don't think we'll. Something tells me we won't be having a season 2 of Fallout next year, though. If they're only going to start filming next month.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a while. I think it's gonna be quite a while, but it should be worth the wait. I would presume that maybe there's gonna be more episodes. Maybe do.
Nah, they'll just be 10. They're not gonna increase the episode number.
Oh really?
Yeah,
but they'll do it weekly though.
It'll be probably it'll be a weekly drop, and I'll be upset because I want to binge it. But whatever.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch it weekly? Or are you gonna
Hell
wait for
no.
it?
I'll wait for it.
No.
I ain't watching shit. The only thing I watch weekly.
What if you get loads of spoilers, bro?
I usually can avoid those.
Okay.
The only thing I watch weekly is Wheel of Time because I hate myself. Why? Oh man.
Why? Yeah. That's Fallout Day.
That's Fallout Day, yeah. I don't know, maybe I guess you gotta do it like it's a big enough franchise where, you have N7, Mass Effect Day, where you could have something Fallout related. I just think,
But it's the day the nukes dropped, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I think maybe there's like more setting up like future Fallouts future Fallout days when maybe you have a Fallout 3 remaster ready to go and you can show stuff about it, or there's a Fallout 5 that's been announced and you can talk more about it, or a Fallout game from somebody else, where now that the TV show's blown it up, you might as well do like these yearly things, even if it's just Fallout 76 for now. It's like setting the groundwork up for other things,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good that they are doing it, I suppose, but at the same time, it's like the Fallout community has existed for years and years and years, and basically been ignored by Bethesda and Microsoft by extension. And it's only since the TV show that even Microsoft and Bethesda itself have been like, oh, actually, we do have a fan base there, which kind of frustrates me, right?
Okay.
Because there is so much more they could do with this universe. So much more they could do, and it is criminal that there isn't a Fallout 5 already. There should have been a Fallout 5 yesterday. There should be a dedicated studio for Fallout. It shouldn't be that we have to wait for Starfield development to wrap up and then Elder Scrolls development to wrap up and then we get a Fallout. Maybe there should be an investment opportunity to make a studio dedicated to Fallout, Give it a name.
Call it the Fallout Studio, like Halo's called Halo Studio.
Or call it Vault Tech Industries or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's the Fallout community is long suffering, and I suffer along with them.
Yes, and I take great pleasure in that, knowing that you and Mr. Matty Plays have to wait till like 2034 to get Fallout 5.
Yeah, will it even be good? I don't know.
I mean, you would hope so, and it probably will be.
Fallout IRL by then, probably.
Well, it's even like you said, they should invest in a new studio, but what about Activision and Call of Duty? Like, depending on the metrics here, they have, you have Infinity Ward, Treyarch's making Black Ops 6, Sledgehammer. I mean, should they make a fourth studio to kind of have it so, like, each studio has 4 years to kind of make their game? Should they invest in a new COD studio, considering how much money it's going to make and how much revenue it's going to drive? And I think it's because you said before, like, sometimes the publishers can determine how much a game's going to sell based on how high its Metacritic is. Now, maybe that doesn't always necessarily apply to something like modern or Call of Duty, because last year's Call of Duty was like a 50 some odd Metacritic, and I'm sure it still made a shit ton of money. Maybe not as much as money as like previous ones, but then again, like, they don't even send out review codes for these games early anymore. There's no early reviews for Modern Warfare or the Call of Duty games. It's just like you're playing along with everybody else, so do reviews even matter? Because as I say, like, will it matter if this Call of Duty goes from a 55 to let's say an 85 or an 86, or it's one of the better rated Call of Duties in years? Does that mean more people are going to spend money on this game because it's higher rated? And then, if that is the case and how it follows, well, if you would want them to put out, if like putting out better games causes people to spend more money because the games are better, then wouldn't you want every game to be as good as it can? So you would slot in a fourth studio so you can have like every game be as good as it can be, so you can make more money? Or does this, like, the microtransactions and the Warzone free-to-play stuff kind of screw up that whole kind of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I mean, they'll have their targets they want to hit with it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, we got Supernova in the chat with $2. Says, "What is Everwild? Jez, tell us, is it dead?"
Everwild is not dead. And in fact, Phil Spencer himself was shouting out Everwild.
Yeah, said he played it. He was playing it with he visiting the European studios? I saw him at Rare. I saw him at Arcane. I think he was at Mojang. Like, is he visiting like the European studios? I saw him at Playground, and they said, "Hey, Phil's playing." What do they say? Phil's playing Fable and Forza stuff. What Forza stuff could Phil be playing? I wonder.
Yeah, indeed.
But
yeah, I mentioned. I think I mentioned on the show last week or the week before that I'd heard positive things about Starfield. Everwild.
Okay.
Starfield, yeah. Everwild, and lo and behold, Phil Spencer's gone and played it now. I presume, like, the reason I heard that it was doing well is because there must be a vertical slice that's playable, which is what they're showing around now internally and stuff like that. Which is pretty exciting, right? At least they've locked it down now, and it kind of gives some credibility to me saying that the development's going well. I mean, it'd be one thing if I said the development's going well, and then it was like, oh, by the way, it's cancelled. Thankfully, no. The sources are still ticking along strong. So yeah, that's Everwild. I have no idea how the game plays. I have no idea what you do in the game. I haven't seen the game yet, but hey, we're working on it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We got Achievement with the 5 who says, "I've seen on the Xbox channel there's a new Barbie game coming out. Have you pre-ordered it yet, Rand?" Oh, you know it, day one? Nah, I haven't pre-ordered it. Jez, sure. There's probably a better chance Jez will play it than me. So, maybe as part of his executive editor roles at Windows Central, he might have to review this game, right?
Maybe.
That'd be quite funny.
I don't know, but since I'm executive editor now, I can just force people to do things for me.
You could.
So I could.
Hey, by the way, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. Well, how about you review this game? Oh, cool. What game am I reviewing? The new Barbie game, and by the way, the new Smurf game too. Get at it.
I saw someone say the new Smurf game is good.
I actually did see somebody say that. I'm like, okay. I think it was Special Nick that said that. Yeah, it was. Special Nick said on Twitter, he like quote retweeted the trailer. He's like, it's just me. This game looked good. It's like, or whatever he said about Smurfs. It's just like, ooh, yeah, maybe Nick's taste in games isn't so, Yeah, what else do we want to say about good old Special Nick,
We're going to have Special Nick on Xbox 2+1, aren't we? I heard.
At some point, maybe, we will. It's tough lining up, time zones with him because he's in the future, right?
He can stay up, surely.
Yeah, surely we could have Nick on, and we could just spend the whole episode just making fun of him. Just like an Xbox 2+1 roast of Special Nick. I think that'd be great.
I'm too nice for that kind of thing, bro.
Yeah, you are too nice. We have Don Dickerson with the $5.99. Hi, boys. Rand, if you wanted to financially support a free-to-play game, what would be your preference? Like buy a skin, season pass, donate directly? Well, so far none of what they're offering has interested me. So the skins don't matter to me. The season pass never matters, really, unless it's. I mean, I have bought season passes that provide like game content, like downloadable DLC, like Alan Wake 2. Like I bought the digital deluxe version because it came with the season pass that gave you the 2 expansions, right? So I buy that, but I don't consider that. But then again, it's not a free-to-play game. So yes, none of it. I guess maybe the cold-hearted thing would be is like they're not going to get money from me. I don't know, like because I don't really care about any of that stuff, and I guess that's kind of shitty to say because they're putting the game out for free. But then the way I look at it is like, well, all the pay pigs out there, the ones that'll spend $100 on a dinosaur for World of Warcraft. Or
pig.
Yeah, pay pigs. Right?
I thought that was more associated with something else.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is, but the ones who spend a lot of money on stuff, like I have a friend who spent thousands of dollars on.
Isn't that a pink thing? Pay pig?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Is that what you're into?
I'm not into that. Other people might be. All I know is that like I have friends who've spent thousands of dollars on Neverwinter Nights and Genshin Impact on stuff, so it's like those people are paying for me to play it for free, and I thank you for it, but I'm not going to spend any money on it.
Yeah, Zach Riley says that the term you're looking for is whale with gaming.
Oh, okay.
Pay pig's something else, bro.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. Demonetized, apparently, yes. So yeah, I mean, these companies haven't found a way to get my money yet. Well, one, I don't really play enough of the free-to-play games, multiplayer-wise, to maybe even really consider it. But when I did, there wasn't anything they did to make me want to. You know what would it be, honestly, and this is kind of shitty to say, it would have to be something that actually gives me an advantage. Right? So it would have to be something like you buy this skin, maybe you like are invisible to players or some shit. Something that actually gives you a tangible benefit instead of just being like, hey, look, I'm Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? It has to be something that I'm going to spend my money on to get an advantage over somebody else. But that's not fair. So that's why they don't put out those things. Although there is some controversy about apparently pay-to-win audio in the new Call of Duty. Have you heard anything about this?
I saw some stuff about that, but isn't it? It's literally just an EQ preset for Dolby Atmos, I think. Dolby Atmos already costs money.
Yes.
I honestly don't know if that really falls in that universe, but hey, maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive. Yeah. But yeah, I did see people moaning about that.
Yeah. So I'd have to have an advantage over other people, and then maybe I consider it. But you're not going to get me with any of the stuff that they currently do. I just don't care. Joe Collins with $199 says, I want an Xbox compatible mode on Windows and ROG Ally or compact mode on Windows and ROG Ally. I think a lot of people want those, right? A compact mode for the handhelds.
Yeah, I mean there is a compact mode right now. No, he says compact mode. I think he means compatibility mode.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he forgot like the C and compact.
Yeah, he means compact, so he wants Xbox games on those devices.
Oh, okay.
I think that's something that Microsoft itself wants to work towards.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll find out if they actually do it or not.
And we got scuba tank filled with farts. Yeah, that'd be an awful scuba tank, wouldn't it? Remember when Ubisoft pleaded with us to come out against Vivendi's hostile takeover attempt? If we only knew. Now, lol. Yeah, I remember that. They were like, yeah, that wasn't that long ago either, really.
No, not really.
And maybe Vivendi was the right play, because it hasn't really been good under the Guillermo. RDX Son of Fett with the 699 says, a YouTuber named Jwood 2010 that says they have insiders saying Xbox is pivoting a bit from multi-platform because of Indiana reaction. Jez, any truth? Well, that was Ecstasis who said that, yes?
Yeah, it was Ecstasis who really said that. I personally...
That they're pausing Project Latitude because of the Indiana Jones reaction. I
personally don't think this is true. I think the truth is that they've had a plan in mind since the get-go, and they're not pivoting away from it anytime soon. I think the plan in place that is happening right now and we're seeing play out is the same plan that they've always had. And I think any suggestion that they've slowed down or planning to slow down or anything like that, I do think that's just potentially wishful thinking from some quarters. I do know that they were not happy with how it was revealed about Indiana Jones, and I think Microsoft wasn't necessarily directly involved in how that was revealed. And I do think that Microsoft thinks that the way it was revealed, that it was coming to PlayStation, was damaging to the brand. I do think that, and if you'll notice, Bethesda has some openings for marketing right now, which makes me wonder if something went wrong there. But yeah, I do think the messaging around it might be different, but I don't think they're gonna stop development on a project because of that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I've worked pretty hard to try and get concrete data about what games are coming to PlayStation, when and where and how. The only information I could get was Indiana Jones, which I hinted before the announcement a week before, and also that Starfield is not coming in 2025, which I think I shared. 2024. Sorry, yeah. Starfield is not coming in 2024, which I shared earlier on in the year. And if Starfield was coming to PlayStation, they've only got a few weeks left to get it out.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean it won't come next year potentially. So yeah, personally, I don't think you can put much stock in that report. But you know, I do think there's a chance we could see another business update next year.
Ooh, another business update! How wonderful that would be.
But I think that one, they'll be trying to put a more of a positive spin on it. So maybe that's where they announced new hardware, for example.
Yeah,
handheld, or just announce the fact that it's coming.
Yeah, always here's some bad news, but there's also some good news to drown out the bad news. Yeah, although I don't think it's really going to necessarily work this time, or at least the way they want it. But yeah, the Bethesda thing with the Indiana Jones stuff was... people didn't like how that was announced. People didn't like and one more thing, it's the PS5, and it makes me wonder if that was like Bethesda's angle, because Xbox has these publishers, and sure enough, like they report up to Phil and Matt, but they usually kind of let them run their own things, right? So I wonder if like Bethesda thought it was like best to do it this way, but then like the Xbox brass didn't know that it was going to be done that way, and that nobody's talking about Indiana Jones and what it looks like or what it plays like. The discussion was like, all right, it's coming to PlayStation, And they announced it before the Xbox version was even out, which makes you wonder, like, why even bother doing that? Like, sure, like, whatever, put it on PlayStation, but why not at least give the Xbox version a chance to, like, I don't know, do what it needs to do, whether it's through Game Pass or other things before you announce that it's coming to another platform.
It completely undermined the game.
Yeah.
It completely undermined the game. It undermined all the previews. Like loads of people had a preview ready to go for that game, and it undermined everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was really badly positioned, and nobody cared about the game. They were just discussing the drama.
Mm-hmm.
That was like an absolutely terrible way to present that shit. And you know, I think they know it. You know, and which is why moving forward they're probably going to be very careful about it. So I would think that the games are still going to come to PlayStation. You know, Satya Nadella said in his piece that
it's interesting because
as we continue to spread our games across other platforms.
But he also said something else, Jez, just today.
Yeah, I saw that.
So talking about Satya, you know, because I have this in the title about like, hey, Xbox's future. Yeah, Satya had he published his annual shareholders letter, right? And obviously one of the pillars of Microsoft right now is gaming, and he said this: "We are bringing great games to more people on more devices. With our acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, which closed October of 2023, we've added hundreds of millions of players to our ecosystem. We now have 20 franchises that have generated over $1 billion in lifetime revenue, from Candy Crush, Diablo, and Halo to Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, and Gears of War." I think it's kind of cute that Candy Crush is listed first, right? Candy Crush, Diablo, and Halo. Although, if you think about it,
they love Candy Crush.
Well, Candy Crush has probably is probably the one that makes the most money per, like, you know, maybe the most money, and then obviously margin wise, right? In comparison to the other stuff. So that's 20 franchises that have over $1 billion. That's a lot. And Satya goes on to say, with Xbox Cloud Gaming, we continue to innovate to offer players more ways to experience the games they love, where, when, and how they want. Which I think right now, I think you can play Black Ops 6 on cloud gaming, yeah? Xbox Cloud Gaming. Which is cool.
And also GeForce Now. But not Diablo!
But not Diablo, the game that Jez cares about. And the final thing he says here says, "Finally, we brought 4 of our fan-favorite titles to Nintendo Switch and Sony PlayStation for the first time, as we continue to extend our content to new platforms." Now, people read this and freaked the fuck out. Like it was, I don't know. It's weird because we know they're bringing other games to the other platforms. They never said they were going to stop doing that. Phil at E3 said, yeah, we're going to bring more games to more platforms or whatever. And yet, like, people acted like this was the first time they've seen Satya mention this sort of thing, or that Xbox was doing this in general. They're like, see? And it's just like, yeah, like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, I don't know how, what, you want the surprise Pikachu face or something? Like, is this really shocking that Satya said this? I mean, you know what's to play. They've talked about it repeatedly, and I don't know. And maybe it's like, oh, Satya, so this is the overall vision, and he's speaking to investors, and it's like, blah, blah, blah. So everybody's like, every game, day and date, blah, 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 whatever have you, however way Xbox is going to run this, right? And I think I even said recently, like, somebody asked me what I think about, like, Xbox right now and what they're doing and stuff, and I said Xbox is like, they were a caterpillar and now they're cocooning, and they're going to change into something else. And because you're at this position where they are doing a multi-platform push, and nobody knows how that's really going to play out and how deep it's going to be. Is it going to be every game from all their publishers? Is it going to be day and date? Are they going to keep some stuff, for timed exclusive? All that stuff. So, like, nobody knows how that. Some people will tell you they know that how it's going to play out, but they don't. Right? They may have an inkling or whatever, but anybody that tells you they exactly know all the ins and the outs and how the future is going to play out, they're full of shit. Right? And then there's like Microsoft's hardware, which is, we've seen Microsoft hardware kind of take a sharp decline in recent months and years, right? So it's not, it's not going to sell like 50 million consoles or whatever like the Xbox One did. And there's the talk of like, well, how does their multi-platform push gonna affect whatever they're doing with the next console? Plus, the next console is rumored to have like Steam and other stores on it, which is something brand new that's never happened before. So you have a company that is going and putting their games on other platforms, which hasn't happened before, combining it with new hardware that some people think, Microsoft is about to leave the hardware industry. That this new hardware they're going to make is somehow going to be able to play other stores' games on it, and how does that kind of interwork? Plus, a handheld, and Microsoft's never done a handheld before. And I think you're 100% convinced that there is a handheld. In fact, I think you said like the only thing you're missing is really the code name and the finer details, right? Before you put out a detailed report about it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty much over the line of believing this thing exists now.
So they're doing a handheld for the very first time, right? And so when people talk about the future of Xbox, it's like, I say, it's like they're in a cocoon. And, they went in as one thing, as a caterpillar, and now they're in the process of changing, and whatever comes out of the cocoon, I don't know what it's going to look like. Right? I don't know how any of these things are going to interact with each other. I don't know how deeply the multi-platform thing is going to affect hardware sales, or if it affects it at all, or if it's a good thing or a bad thing in the long run. Like, I personally have said I don't think it's the right decision. I've said that to people at Xbox. They're going to do what they're going to do to make their money, whatever, but they're in that process of changing, and some people obviously fear change, right? Something deviates from the norm, people kind of like get crazy, and it's like, because it's not what they're used to, and so there's that. But then I guess today Microsoft also released their annual report for this year, and Satya had more things to say, right? More things, like more than just that quote about like bringing games as they extend bringing their games to other platforms. He says, our gaming platform is designed to provide a variety of entertainment through a unique combination of content, community, and cloud services. Our game content is developed through a collection of first-party studios creating iconic and differentiated gaming experiences. We continue to invest in new gaming studios and content to expand our intellectual property roadmap and leverage new content creators. Now, it's funny, Jez, because before people would have said that line where he says we continue to invest in new gaming studios would be like, oh, Microsoft's about to acquire somebody. You know what I mean? It's like, what does he mean invest in new gaming studios? They don't have any new gaming studios. Right? Does this mean that they're looking to buy somebody new? But either way, that's what Satya says here in this. He goes on to say that these unique gaming experiences are the cornerstone of Game Pass, a subscription service and gaming community with access to a curated library of over 400 first and third-party console and PC titles. The gamer remains at the heart of the Xbox ecosystem. We are identifying new opportunities to attract gamers across a variety of different endpoints through our first and third-party content and business diversification across subscriptions, ads, and digital stores. We've seen new devices from third-party manufacturers, along with key PC and mobile endpoints that help us empower gamers to play in a new way that is most convenient to them. We are focused on growing the platform and expanding to new ecosystems to engage as many gamers as possible, right? Xbox enables people to connect and share online gaming experiences that are accessible on Xbox consoles, Windows-enabled devices, and other devices. Xbox is designed to benefit users by providing access to a network of certified applications and services, and to benefit our developer and partner ecosystems by providing access to a large customer base. Xbox revenue is mainly affected by subscriptions and sales of first and third-party content. I don't know how he can say that, because everybody knows Xbox gamers don't buy games, right? As well as advertising. Growth of our gaming business is determined by the overall active user base through Xbox-enabled content, availability of games, providing exclusive game content that gamers seek, the computational power and reliability of the devices used to access our content and services, and the ability to create new experiences.
See, dude.
So
a lot of people are hung up on this exclusive content thing, right? But you have to understand that Satya doesn't think about exclusive content in the same way that a normal person would. When he's saying exclusive content, he means exclusive to the Microsoft ecosystem, which in their mind means every platform where Microsoft stuff exists. So like that includes PlayStation in Satya's brain. You know, it's just you're buying it on. It's like you know, it's exclusive to them and their ecosystem, but in what we think of an exclusive is completely different. You know, so I don't think people are really hanging on that, but that just basically means like we're gonna make the content exclusively and not just publish the content. So yeah, that's not what it means. I don't think. Paris says the whole slate's going to Switch. Yeah, they ain't slowing down or stopping on this Latitude stuff until they come out in a business thing and there's actual like.
Well, how would you even like? Some people just want a clarification of like what is and what isn't. You know, and I think one of the things
I would love that as well, but they won't do it.
Yeah,
you know, I think Microsoft they're still going to have exclusive games, purely based on the virtue that some developers, you know, will be like they won't factor PlayStation into the business model. But I don't think they're ever going to put a hard line on like, you know, like there was these rumors that Halo's got a hard line under it now, or Gears of War's got a hard line under it now. I don't think we're in that universe yet, where it's like these games have a hard line under them. At least I've not seen any evidence that there's you know, that they've drawn a red line around Forza and whatever. In fact, I heard like Forza was something that they were heavily exploring because, you know, they compete with Gran Turismo on PC, potentially, and it'd be like, well, if we're on everything, then we kill Gran Turismo, you know.
Well, I don't know if you'll kill Gran Turismo, but that's like saying if you put Forza Horizon on Switch, it's going to kill Mario Kart.
Not really.
Well, yeah.
I don't think they're the same kind of the same genre. But
well, I mean, you know, Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon aren't even the same genre. Outside of just there's racers, one's completely different than the other.
Yeah, but you know, photorealistic racer.
But you know, the funny thing is, like, you know, Paris said, like, they're all full slate coming to Switch or whatever. Let's imagine a scenario where Microsoft did put all their games on the Switch, but not PlayStation, right? I think the vast majority of people wouldn't care. I don't think you'd see this big upheaval of being like, "What are you doing?" Because I think it's literally just PlayStation, right? It's not. If it was just the Switch, people would be like, "Oh, cool, yeah, all right, that's fine. I don't care that it's on the Switch." I think it's PlayStation that really gets under people's nerves.
Yeah, it's a different. The thing about the Switch is like it's a different modality. But when you're putting it on PlayStation, it feels like reductive, because it's like you are degrading the investment that I've put into Xbox. If you put it on Switch, because at least today you don't have a handheld, it's a bit different, right? And then even if they did have a handheld, it's still more like a handheld's a sort of a companion device, and Switch isn't going to make a desktop version. They're not going to make they're not going to compete with Xbox on the high end. So it's also like it's less like you're helping the competition to kill Xbox if you're putting a game on the Switch. And I genuinely feel like putting the games on PlayStation is a huge mistake. I don't think it's a good idea in any direction. I think it's bad for the brand. I think it helps, in Phil Spencer's own words, it helps Sony to undermine Xbox.
Yes, which
I think that has a chilling effect.
Which we had just saw from like Pearl Abyss, that Sony offered an exclusivity deal to Crimson Desert, but they didn't take it.
Yeah,
which is
and that's the money that Microsoft's giving Sony to undermine the Xbox ecosystem. So it's like, I think as a customer that exists in this ecosystem, and Microsoft might have data to suggest that none of this matters and it's all arbitrary and it's whatever. But I just can't believe it in my heart of hearts. It just feels like a huge mistake. And, you know, I get why they're doing it, and I don't care about it in the sense that, like in a console war sense, where it's like, oh god, I feel so insulted about this. It's always been, and I've really tried to explain this to journalists who don't get it. It's always been like, it's because that means if there's less people buying an Xbox, developers will have less reason to make Xbox versions of games. We will get less games, and therefore my library of games will be orphaned when Xbox realizes that it cannibalized its own system. So this isn't about a console thing. This is purely about having a healthy hardware ecosystem, which I'm going to advocate for, because not only do I have thousands of dollars invested in digital games tied to the Xbox ecosystem, everyone watching this show has thousands of dollars tied to the ecosystem. All of my friends have thousands of dollars tied to the ecosystem. My friends do. Loads of people I know do. So it's like, and everything that Microsoft does, which seems to help PlayStation, is undermining the faith that I've put in Xbox to offer me a good consumer experience that'll carry along for years and years and years into the future, because I can't resell those digital licenses. That's what it's always been about for me, and I think that's what it's always been about for most reasonable people.
Devil's advocate, one second here, Jez.
Go on.
No matter what happens in the future, as long as you kept your Series X, you should be able to play all the games that you...
Not if it breaks.
Okay, we're going to get another Series X. Are you assuming
if they stop selling them?
Okay, so...
Well, dude, take this for example. My Elite controller's broken, right? They've stopped doing repairs in Germany. I can't get it repaired. So if I want a new Elite controller, which I've only had for a year, I've got to buy a new one. And that's a custom design lab Elite controller. So that costs like 200 euros or whatever it is. 180 euros or something like that. I can't get it repaired. So, and there's going to be a future where if Xbox keeps undermining its own hardware ecosystem and giving PlayStation all the flowers, then you won't be able to get your Series X repaired. You think Satya gives a shit? He doesn't give a shit about gaming. He doesn't give a shit about Xbox, and he sure as hell doesn't give a shit about you or me and having our Xbox Series X repaired for the next 10 years. So unless Microsoft has a solution in place where it's like, I can transfer those licenses to PC, which, let's face it, is pretty unlikely. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely. I think Microsoft has a duty of care to my investment and all of your investment.
They have an obligation to, if they're not going to provide like a transfer of all your game licenses to PC, then they have an obligation to always make hardware that's backwards compatible for the foreseeable future, so you can play the games that you bought. Like, do they have an obligation to do that?
They don't have a legally binding obligation, but like if you are a company that makes consumer products, you should expect your customers to push back when you start doing stupid shit, basically. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm pushing back when they're doing stupid shit, and I think they are doing stupid shit, unless they can give me evidence to the contrary. And to be fair to Phil, he does say that Xbox has more players than ever, and if that's the case, then fine. If Xbox is still growing, if it doesn't hurt Xbox, fine. But as long as that's the case, then it doesn't matter. But that's the part what we're not sure about right now. Part that we're all unsure about, and why there is backlash to it, is because we don't know how this is going to potentially negatively impact Xbox. It could be a good thing. I mean, the optimistic take is that Sea of Thieves takes the money it earned from PlayStation and makes the game better, and it doesn't negatively affect Xbox. That's the optimistic universe. But again, that's a very optimistic universe. I don't err towards optimism usually.
Even the more optimistic take was like, from selling all these games on PlayStation, that they would take the revenue that they ever got and then like invest it back in the Xbox to make the console better, which they, or like to invest in buying new studios or making new games. But does that actually really happen, or just all sit in a coffer somewhere?
Or you could also do like you could go one further and say, with all the money that Microsoft makes on PlayStation, could they use that money to buy more exclusives like Stalker 2, which is shaping up fantastically, by the way? Or could they, use that money from PlayStation to make sure more games come to Xbox, despite the market share. I mean, clearly they've done some kind of deal with Square Enix because all the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster games, they're not on Game Pass, but they are Xbox Play Anywhere. And also Dragon Quest is Xbox Play Anywhere without being on Game Pass. I don't think is Dragon Quest coming to Game Pass?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is, but it's Play Anywhere. I noticed that on the store recently. So, and but clearly they've structured some kind of deal with Square Enix for content for Xbox, which says, which does suggest that they still want Xbox to be a thing, So I don't think you do that if with the mindset of like, oh, we're projecting that we'll get out of hardware in 2 or 3 years. Obviously, that's not what they're projecting, but the backlash revolves around, are their projections wrong? Are they being reckless here? Are they making the wrong decision? I think that's where a lot of us are when it comes to this stuff. So I'm a cynic, and I tend to think that the worst, if there's something bad can happen, it will happen.
Oh, what is that? Murphy's Law?
I don't know. It's Jez's law.
It's Jez's law.
But like, it's Jez's law.
Pretty sure that's Murphy's Law. Hold on, let me look.
Who's Murphy?
Murphy's Law.
Murphy, the guy from RoboCop.
Murphy's Law is that anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah.
In the UK, Murphy's Law is also known as Sod's Law.
Sod's Law. Yeah, I know Sod's Law.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I'm thinking like maybe Microsoft's being a little bit too optimistic here. Maybe they're thinking like, oh, it'll be fine. No one will quit. Blah blah blah. It'll be fine. And maybe it will. And I'll be like, yeah, Microsoft was right. It was all just overly negative and overly worried over nothing, and it's fine. And Xbox hardware's, maybe it's not as big as it used to be, but it's still viable, and the Xbox store, makes loads of money, and they can put the $90 dinosaur mount on Xbox one day, and that'll make a shitload of money, and it'll be fine, But I think, I think the backlash is earned, and I think the backlash is valuable, as long as it's framed in a respectful manner. I think the backlash is valuable in the context of we shouldn't just let these corporations walk all over us and do a shitty job.
Because at the end of the day, the corporations don't care about me or you or anybody listening to this show. I mean, individual people might care, but the corporation as a whole has one goal, and that's to make as much money as possible. That is to basically reach into your wallet and take as much money as they can without you noticing. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about you or me or anybody else. They're there to make money, and that's it. Rave Damos says, if you had 5 minutes with Satya, what would you want to tell him? Come on, Jez.
Hey, what you did about my phone.
I knew it was going to be about, God damn it, why'd you shut down Windows Phone?
I have a bad Windows Phone, man. I'd be like, bring it back, dude. Bring it back.
Yeah, but even still, like, Satya laments shutting down Windows Phone because, they have to play nice to whatever Google and Apple decides to do with their store and their structures. And it's like,
this is my whole thing with publicly traded companies. They have this short-sighted mindset a lot of the time, and I think people will look back on Satya's investment in OpenAI and call it like one of the best decisions he's ever made. So Satya is clearly a savvy businessman. He invested in OpenAI early, and now Microsoft owns 20% of their revenue. So no matter how big OpenAI gets, a chunk of that's always going to go to Microsoft because that was the terms of the agreement that they signed when they were growing and they needed investment. Microsoft's pumped more investment into them, and then they own all the first refusal to all commercial applications of their large language models. Apart from OpenAI itself or something like that. So it's not like Satya has been bad for the company. Like anyone who thinks Satya's a bad thing in terms of what his job is meant to be, which is ultimately to grow Microsoft's revenue and share price, Satya has been, in that context, the best thing that's ever happened to Microsoft.
Pretty much.
So, like, Microsoft share price, it's flying. They're one of the most valuable companies in the world after years of stagnation, and and also paying more dividends than ever to shareholders, buying back stock, and all this stuff, and and record profitability, record margins, all this kind of stuff. So you can't take away what Satya's done for Microsoft. I want to be the voice of the person that doesn't want all that success to mean the things that I like about Microsoft as a consumer, or the things that you guys like as consumers. I don't want that to get trampled on. So like, I think Microsoft has the ability to have their cake and eat it, and they often do have their cake and eat it. I think the fact that Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard was a representation of having their cake and eating it. You know, that the fact that they could afford to do something so sensational, and it was sensational, and also push it through one of the most intense, you know, regulatory scrutiny processes I've certainly ever witnessed, and actually get it over the finish line. That is incredibly impressive, you know, and ultimately, buying Activision Blizzard is going to have a cascading positive effect on Xbox as a whole, hopefully, including the hardware. But at the same time, it doesn't mean like you just sit back and ignore all the bullshit they're doing. You know, thousands of layoffs, hundreds of layoffs, hundreds and hundreds of layoffs, are pissing all over their climatological pledges. We want to be carbon zero by 2030. Yeah, right. And all this other stuff that they've done that is bad, and also like, you know, the vast amounts of distraction from the acquisition of Activision, which has led to a degraded console experience. You know, the amount of development going towards Xbox platform is minimal now, because they're focused so heavily on, you know, making sure the UI for the handheld's good and doing all this other stuff. So I'm not saying they should. I'm not denying that you have to allocate resources, you know, in a sort of in an intelligent, holistic kind of way. But at the same time, it's like you've got so much money, man, and I'm buying your $90 dinosaur mounts. Look at all these people who bought the $90 dinosaur mounts. You're telling me that we can't have a functioning game DVR, you know? And to be fair, the game DVR, the most recent update to the game DVR does seem to have fixed some of the issues that I had with it. But how long did it take? It took years and years and years. You know, and I got an email the other day where someone was like, Jez, when's HDMI CEC remote control coming to the Xbox? And I was like, what do you mean? It's already there. And I went there and looked, and it's been on the insider ring for years, but it's never gone out to the public. And it's like, man, why?
So that is where you can control with like a TV remote or something?
Yeah, you can like control the Xbox with your TV remote.
Oh yeah, I've done that accidentally with my like TV remote with the.
Yeah, but you're on the insider program.
Yes, I am on
right?
the insider program.
It's never, that feature has never gone out to the public, and it's been forgotten about because Microsoft's doing all this other stuff, because Xbox has become lower down in their priorities. It's that kind of thing which pisses me off. And it's like, that's like a little thing, but it's sort of like it's one little thing and a bunch of little things, which I think is why there is so much negativity amongst the Xbox community right now, because there is this sort of cascading sense that we're no longer priority for them, you know? And I feel like that the big failing of Satya Nadella for me is this inability to bring people along for the ride, you know? Like, it was like, okay, we're going to chase this AI thing, but we're going to kill all these other cool things in the process, you know? When like Windows Phone is something that they would have absolutely necessarily needed to facilitate a lot of what they're doing now in AI. But instead of plowing ahead with it, they killed it, you know? And like, if they had all these AI things potentially now, this is like the one moment that when Windows Phone could have made more of a dent, you know. There's all kinds of things that could have happened if they'd have stuck with it. And that's that kind of that thinking, that short-term thinking, which makes me worried about how Satya sees Xbox, you know, where it's like, oh, Xbox isn't doing well today. That means it's never going to do well. But that's not necessarily the truth, you know. We've seen Nintendo have really bad generations. Like the GameCube didn't do that well. The Wii U sure as hell didn't do well. And it's like, if I can't help but feel like if Microsoft had had a Wii U generation, would they have even kept it? Probably not, because they've got this short-term thinking process, which is why, like, when Xbox does badly in their hardware forecasts, it does make you think. Like, it's not necessarily like, how does Phil see that? I'm often thinking like, how does Amy Hood and how does Satya see that? Because I've seen what Satya did to Windows Phone and other products. Surface, for example, I think Surface is going to be dead in 2 or 3 years. Surface won't exist. Surface went from being like this innovative trailblazer, making all these products that even Apple had to copy, to just making like 2 products a year, if that, and no marketing whatsoever. Literally zero marketing. No marketing. And then like every quarter when they report Surface is down 30% year over year. So, it was a $2 billion business at one point. Always with one arm tied behind its back, because they didn't want to step on their OEM partners' toes. But they were still doing so much cool stuff. Like even like, earbuds and headphones and docks and all kinds of cool stuff, man. And they were doing a really great job, overall. There were flaws and stuff. But then, no forward thinking about it, no investment, and hollowing out and let it die. And that's why, like, I just don't trust Satya whatsoever, which is why I criticize him, which is why I'll always push back, and I'll always speak up and be like, do better, do better, because in 10 years, when maybe Facebook does crack the metaverse, and maybe like all of a sudden, in order for AI to resonate with consumers or something, you need some kind of gaming platform, and then Satya will be there as a cyborg in 20 years saying like, oh, I wish we'd have kept Xbox going. Oh, I wish we've kept it going. Hindsight's 2020. Like, nah, man.
Yeah. You know what they'll never say? Oh, I wish I would have kept Mixer open. Right?
Yeah, no, I saw an analyst say something like they
expect Amazon to shut down Twitch or something.
Amazon to sell off or shut down Twitch, yeah.
Ooh.
I would not be surprised because of the amount of brand damage that Twitch constantly brings onto itself.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think there's any damage that Twitch brings on Amazon, though. Right?
No,
I don't even think most people even know Amazon really even owns Twitch, even though you can.
But I think it scares advertisers away when you've got like certain influencers up there saying all kinds of weird shit.
Sure.
And that because like I think, has Twitch ever been profitable? I kind of feel like it's never been profitable.
They never made any money. Just like Spotify's never been profitable. I mean, they make a lot of money, but their expenses are more than their revenue.
Yeah.
So, will it ever become profitable? Probably not. Not with like YouTube doing more stuff, and you got like Kick and Rumble and all these other places that people could go to. So,
yeah, I mean, YouTube's kind of cornered that market, and and they've got YouTube isn't based around like a handful of influencers anymore. It's like it's such a huge platform that any one influencer on YouTube that steps out of line, they just get banned and forgotten. But like on Twitch, it's like you could scare away like your whole platform of advertisers. It's like, oh god, someone's a pedo again, or something like that, And it reflects upon all of Twitch for some reason. Whereas because it's like kind of like seen as the default, people don't associate that with YouTube for some reason. I suppose because just the massive variety of content that you get on YouTube. But I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now, but
well, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if I ever met Satya. The only thing I've always said the only thing I care about with Microsoft is Xbox. That's literally it. If it wasn't for Xbox, I couldn't give two shits whatever Microsoft does, right? So what I would talk to him about would be like Xbox, and we'd see what he would say. He probably wouldn't even say anything. He probably would let me vent, and he'd just be like, nod his head. Yep. He probably wouldn't even say anything. He'd be like, so what do you want to talk about? I want to talk about Xbox, Satya. Blah, 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 blah. But, yeah, Satya is one of these guys is just like, look, my pay is $72 million this year in 2024, right? His stock dividends and all that sort of stuff. And his whole philosophy is like, I'm going to bring shit to everybody. And why shouldn't I do that with Xbox? And it's like, that's the business philosophy. Like, we'll make more money by putting our games elsewhere. And it's like, yeah, maybe in the short term we would, but like, what does that do for your own internal stuff? Like, does that lessen your hardware? And then like how much money you make on your own store? Like, isn't the whole goal to be essentially sell other people's games at 30%, and as you know, like the bigger your player base is, the more money and more games you sell, the more money you make, and all that stuff. But also, if you reduce that,
also you can be like, you can also be like, Satya, that like, look at all the issues you have in dealing with Google and Apple's rules.
Yeah.
Do you really want to give away all that control to PlayStation? If you don't have your own platform, you no longer have any political
unless they really
regulatory.
Unless they really feel that, like, at some point in the future, regulators are going to look at the console space and regulators are going to tell Nintendo and Sony to open up their store.
Hey, it could happen.
Right, and then and at that point, you know, if they felt that was what's going to happen, then, like, okay, so we're going to be ahead of the curve and we're going to have our games there or whatever.
I feel like that is a risky bet, because
it is, because I feel like
I noticed, right, just quickly, like, when there was that court ruling in America where it was like, okay, Google, you have to open up your store to Epic Games, and within minutes, Sarah Bond was there celebrating, saying like, right? Oh yeah, we're gonna start selling games on Android, yay, because of this court ruling. And then, not a couple of days later, the judge was like, oh, okay, we'll get rid of that. Google appealed, fair enough, you know. And now it's like Google's store is still going to be locked down because of the appeals process now. So it's like, why announce that when you know they've got the opportunity to appeal? That is like optimism to the point of naivety, I think, in a way. Because I don't think Google or Apple are ever going to give up that. They will use every small print issue in every contract and every piece of legislation to avoid having to give that up.
Right. And I think if there was ever a chance where the regulators were like, let's look at Nintendo and PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store, I think Nintendo and PlayStation could probably make a compelling argument about, if you forced us to open up our store, then we can't be in this business. The business just doesn't work, right?
And they're right.
So they could probably present a compelling case to the regulators, being like, if you do this, it like ruins everything. Whereas, like, maybe that doesn't make sense in Google or Apple, where they make so much money and there's such a, it's like everybody has a phone, right? But like with consoles, it's only so many people, and you know, they normally sell these things for a loss or at cost. So to them, it might be like, yeah, this ruins everything. That you're basically going to be, you know, if you do this, then, you know, you're essentially ruining this entire industry. So I don't think that'll ever happen. I think they probably hope that would happen, and that they would be the first ones, because Microsoft is sometimes good at identifying trends well in advance, right?
I wonder why. It's not like they've got one of the biggest Washington lobbying operations.
Right, but I mean, they're good at noting, like, okay, like we got Kinect, we got, you know, I still remember how people were like, a camera in your living room? How dare thee, Microsoft? How dare thee intrude on my civic rights? And then literally everybody buys like Alexas Ring and all this shit that's listening literally all the time, 24/7. Or they got like Ring, you know, like all these sort of things with cameras everywhere. But at the time it was like, my privacy, holy shit. But it's like, they were right. They were on the up and up. They sort of knew that was going to be the case with those things. And, you know, like even digital game management and digital game user rights, they were trying, like in 2013, they was like, this is going to be a thing and we need to do something about it. You know, I think they went about in the wrong way with trying to, you know, basically like, hey, you know, we need to change how game ownership works. But I bet you everybody now wishes there was some sort of digital game rights that we all had, that, you know, like how cool would it have been of like, hey, guess what? Like I bought this game physically and I put it in my Xbox. Now I don't need the physical disc because it just exists as a digital thing, and now I own it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you don't need physical discs.
You don't need a physical discs, but I now it's like you think about some of the things they wanted to do, and it's like, yeah, that would be cool now in 2024. You know, and we haven't even gotten to the point about like digital game ownership because it's just a license, but Microsoft wanted to do more, and we all kind of were like, well, no, we don't want things to change that way, because we weren't ready.
I was all for it, man.
Yeah, because we weren't ready for it to change. In 2013,
I was ready.
The industry was still very much physical, right? Physical above all else. But here we are in 2024, and it's like, what was that? The report? Xbox digital game ownership is like 91%. PlayStation's is in the 70s or something, and Switch is somewhere in the 50s or 40s or something like that. Where like people naturally gravitated to digital. They didn't need a company to kind of strong arm them into that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then even the other thing that we learned was that the Series X has outsold the Series S. Matt Piscatella posted about that, which I guess kind of ruins people's narratives that the Series S is the one that people buy and play on. It's really just, I mean, I guess like it is like what, 1%, 2% or whatever it is, but
I think it's really good that it is 50% because like that kind of justifies if the skew was really harsh, I think that would kind of make it more difficult for developers to justify doing the split development. But the fact that it's exactly half is really quite a good thing. It shows that it's like it's not an uphill struggle for them to justify making separate versions. So I think that was really good news, actually.
Yeah. And even when you're talking about other games coming to different platforms, Helldivers 2 is a little bit in the news this week because there was some talk about it maybe coming to Xbox. I asked some dev in the Helldivers Discord about the idea of like, hey, maybe will PlayStation ever bring Helldivers 2 to Xbox? And he said, quote, "Who says it couldn't? It's not up to us, but to Sony and Phil to duke it out. But hypothetically speaking, if both partners think it would benefit them from a financial brand standpoint, it could. If Sony believes it won't, though, it won't." And I think you wrote an article saying that you felt like Helldivers 2 would blow up on Xbox if it ever did come.
Oh, it wasn't. I just tweeted out, but it was Brendan's article.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was Brendan's article. All right.
Yeah, Brendan's the Helldivers guy at Windows Central. He loves that shit, man. He loves it.
Yeah.
He plays on PC, like most people. But I think the whole Helldivers situation is exactly why Microsoft shouldn't be supporting PlayStation, because there is no logical universe where Helldivers wouldn't be a good shout for Xbox. It'd make loads of money. It wouldn't necessarily negatively impact PlayStation if it was just that game and all that kind of stuff. But PlayStation never do it. We know they'd never do it. Everyone knows they will never do it. They will never, ever, ever, ever do it. No, unless regulators force them to open up the store, and then they're just like, oh well, no, we have to do it because they're going to be on our store, so we need to be on their store as well. So it's like, why would you support a company that's so hostile towards your customers and you as a company? Like any other company wouldn't do it. Microsoft can do it because they're so big that they don't really care. It's like no single one of their businesses is that critical where they can't do these weird experiments.
Well, Azure's pretty critical though.
Oh well, Azure's critical, but we don't talk about Azure.
Sure, we don't. Yeah.
Who cares about Azure? Azure is obviously the number one thing at Microsoft, but when it comes to all their other stuff like Windows, they've been treating Windows users like crap for years, man. They put like ads in the start menu, they put ads in the lock screen, they put that, Copilot in there, nobody wanted. They put Cortana in there, nobody wanted. They updated, Outlook that nobody wanted. All this stuff that they treat Windows users like crap because they don't care because they've got Azure. Like Azure is to Microsoft like Fortnite is to Epic Games. They can do anything they want because they've got infinite money from Fortnite. Which is why they can spend all this money on legal disputes and trying to save the industry because they've just got infinite money, But anyway, tangent. So when you start thinking about what Microsoft's gonna do with some of that stuff, you know what? Lost my train of thought. You started talking about Azure, man.
We were talking about like Helldivers coming to Xbox, and you said never. I mean, they are bringing Lego Horizon to every platform except Xbox. It's actually coming to the Switch.
Yeah. Microsoft and Sony are in direct competition, which is why they shouldn't support them.
Right. I do think there's a way maybe it does come, Helldivers would come to Xbox. And I think like I get why like Sony were like, well, maybe not, but if they were having conversations, Xbox and Sony's like, listen, we're open to the idea of Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox, but we have some ass first before this happens, and then be like, okay, what do you want? First, Sony would be like, yeah, ask, like things they want. First,
I thought you ask.
An asks, right? Like
I heard ass.
No, not ass. Your mind's in the gutter today, man. Pay pigs and ass.
You're the one talking about physical dicks and pigs and all this kind of
shit.
You're
the one that like listened and you're like, did he just say dicks and pay pig? And you're thinking like, oh my god, your mind's in the gutter today, executive editor.
Hell no, bro.
But I was saying it could be one of those things where they go to Microsoft and they're like, listen, here's what we want. And Phil be like, what do you want, PlayStation, to put Helldivers on? All right, first, you're paying for the port. Whatever it costs to port Helldivers 2 to Xbox, and even the marketing that we would have to do to let people know, that's coming out of your wallet. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. We do think we'd maybe make it back or whatever the pirate. Because I don't know how much ports cost, right? So it's like, okay, fine. But then, Sony could be, hey, but you know what else we want? 80-20 split. We don't want a 70-30. We want 80-20. They're like, well, because they could basically make it to the point where then Microsoft even refuses by making it difficult, doing these things where you pay for the port, we want a better split, etc., 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 right? Because I very much agree with you. If Helldivers 2 came to Xbox, I don't think it would harm PlayStation at all. And I don't think then it would start the train of, oh my god, does that mean God of War and Ghost of Yotai and Death Stranding 2 are all going to come to Xbox? I don't think it would like start that domino, because I think people would realize, oh, this is probably just a one-off, right? But also at the same time, Sony, I don't really think Sony wants to give out any freebies like that. Maybe they are just like, you know what, fuck Microsoft, right? Like, you know what, let's crush their neck while they're gonna give us all their games. Put every single one of their games on our platform. Like, who's going to benefit from us? They probably think we are, because, as I think you've always said, the way Sony looks at it is like, how are they going to grow their business, or how they're going to grow their number of monthly active users? And it was always like, they're going to take it from Xbox. So maybe they think, well, we're not going to give anything to them, but they're going to give everything to us, and then we'll take their users and they'll become PlayStation users, right? But then again, I don't know. Jim Ryan was in charge. Now it's somebody else. Herman Hulse is. Maybe there's a different shifting of thinking within PlayStation at this point about supporting other platforms. Maybe that is the future down the road, where in 10 years, everybody's games is everywhere except for Nintendo's or whatever. Like, however the industry, maybe like game content just gets so expensive and takes so long that like, you can't just put it on your own platform anymore. Like, it literally has to be everywhere, because because
of inflation.
Because of inflation, and because you're not growing the actual audience. They're actually getting out of it. And it's like, well, we need to release everywhere because everything's just way too expensive. So we have to release. Maybe it's like I
honestly think like a big part of it again comes down to short-term thinking. Like Sony and Sony and Microsoft and other platform holders, they were so concerned with catering towards, people with the disposable income, like the adults, that they completely forgot that younger gamers eventually grow up, which is why, like, all the investment seems to have gone towards, microtransactions and making these sort of, adult experiences, and no investment for their youth, Whereas Nintendo, like, they know that kids eventually grow up. So they continue to invest in that direction, and now all those kids that grew up playing Switch, they're all going to be really excited about the Switch 2, and thus continues the virtuous cycle of Nintendo strategy. Whereas like Microsoft and Sony focus too much on a market that's going to get old and die, and have their own kids, and then eventually not have any time to play any games. So I think that's part of it as well. Is that the model of focusing on adults with zero margins hardware. I think that model has become upset as people have gotten older. I think one of the ways that they could claw back some of that is, you know, selling the consoles for more expensive, higher price point, and increasing the margins on the actual hardware. Because if you are catering to the adults, them adults got the money to pay for it, but also them adults are squeezed because all the bills are going up, and they actually justify paying for a $700 console, which is why I think the strategy like the Xbox Series S that everyone seems to hate was actually a really smart play by Microsoft. But hey ho, it's still up in the air about what's going to happen next. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, I guess.
Yeah.
We've also got the US election to look forward to, Rand.
Yeah. Looking forward to that, really. Ooh. What's going to happen there?
Stuff.
I mean, that's in a couple weeks, and, you know.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of things going on.
Going to be a lot of chaos, I think.
When's the Switch 2 going to get revealed?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. The Switch 2 getting revealed tomorrow? Okay.
Yep, tomorrow.
You know, one of the things...
No, that's a lie, by the way. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking... I was sort of surprised Microsoft didn't release any more Xbox games on PlayStation this holiday, because, you know, holiday is a great time to sell some games, right? I mean, granted, Call of Duty's there, but Call of Duty's a different breed. I was thinking of something else. And my thought was like Forza Horizon 5. But then I was thinking, well, what if the plan was to release Forza Horizon 5 on Switch 2 and PS5 at the same time, but originally the Switch 2 was going to release this fall and say November. Then you could have released Forza Horizon 5 across Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 at the same time, and maybe had a marketing beat for it, where you know. But now that Switch 2 has been delayed to, you know, whether it comes out in March or April, maybe then they delayed. You know, this is just my speculation. You know, this isn't like anything I know, but would you just end up releasing the PlayStation version of that, or would you wait and still release them like? Because, like, we do have the Switch 2 coming up, and I do feel like Microsoft is going to have games for that device. Right?
Forza's a good shout, probably.
Like Forza or like Sea of Thieves. Like, I'm still was like, Sea of Thieves makes a ton of... If you're going to put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, I think Sea of Thieves makes a ton of sense to put on the Switch. Now, maybe they couldn't get it running on the OG Switch.
With the Banjo DLC.
Yeah, probably. But, I mean... Sea of Thieves makes total sense for the Switch too. Like, isn't that something you would want there at launch for people to play? I would think so. Or even something like Fallout 76, which is not on the Switch, and it just had, like, I think they just announced 20 million players. I mean, the Switch 2 is supposed to be a beefier machine. Is that a game that you want to be able to put in the hands of Switch owners? Like, we know usually launch games, people buy more numbers than they normally would because they want something new to play on their hardware. So, like, I would expect Xbox to support the Switch 2 in some capacity next year. So, like, my line of thinking was like, oh, what if they were going to support with Forza Horizon 5, but then the Switch 2 launch got delayed. So instead of releasing it singularly on the PlayStation, they decided to wait.
When you can't talk.
Shut up, Jez. You know what? I don't know. Does that make any sense?
At all? Sure, bro.
Oh my god,
it makes sense, bro. It does, bro.
Okay, fair enough. Whatever.
Singularly makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree. Like, of course they're gonna have stuff for the Switch. Just I suppose it's a matter of what, where, when, and why.
Maybe that's where the new Banjo game gets announced.
Ah, man.
Could you imagine? Well, we're gonna announce this new Banjo game at the.
Who's working on it, bro?
Who knows? Your mom, maybe. Damn, your mom's working on a Banjo game. She is.
She can't even use a smartphone. But I did notice speaking of Banjo, they did a ukulele.
Yes.
Platform announcement trailer recently, because they've revamped ukulele to bring it more in line with what fans want out of a Banjo-like kind of game. Because obviously ukulele is made by some of the Banjo team from back in the day. So they've revamped that, and in their platform announcement trailer, they said It's coming to Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 5, and
Nintendo Switch platforms.
Yeah, Nintendo platform. So it's like, so was this a Switch 2 announcement that they pushed back because of the delay?
They just didn't.
Yeah,
well, I do think there are some games that are just everybody's waiting for the Switch 2 to get announced so they can be like, also coming to the Switch 2, like the Doom the Dark Ages, for example. We don't know when it's coming out. We do know it's coming next year. And the previous 2 Doom games are on Switch. You would think that maybe Doom the Dark Ages would also launch on Switch 2 as well.
True that.
So there probably are a bunch of announcements for games. Maybe, what about this? Grand Theft Auto 6. Can announce it for Switch 2 because Switch 2 is not announced yet, but could they actually somehow thread the needle and get that for the Switch 2?
No. Grand Theft Auto is not coming to the Switch 2, man.
Okay.
I think people. I mean, maybe I would be shocked if it did, because you gotta remember, man, the Switch 2 is not some kind of futuristic device. It's still based on today's chips, right? And I don't know if you're gonna get a particularly great experience out of Grand Theft Auto 6, which is probably gonna run at 30 frames per second on the next gen, the current gen systems. I can't see that running on. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but I can't see it going on the Switch 2. Maybe GTA 4.
GTA 4. But, what about GTA 5?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never tried running GTA 5 on that Asus ROG Ally. I don't know how well it runs, but you've got to expect similar performance on the Switch 2 to like the Asus ROG Ally and stuff like that, because you've got to factor in costs too. That they're not going to want it to be too expensive, and the Z2 Extreme ain't even out yet, so it's gonna be roughly about as powerful as the Z1 Extreme, I would think. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would be surprised if they get GTA running on there, unless it's been developed from the ground up. I don't know, man. Maybe we'll see. Is there some kind of frame generation stuff going on, that they've got some kind of advanced frame generation stuff? I don't know.
Hey, I don't know if you saw, but Microsoft is partnering up with Mountain Dew, Doritos, and Rockstar, baby.
Oh, damn.
Did you see this announcement?
I did not, but I did see that they've partnered with they've also partnered with Rockstar for World of Warcraft as well recently, with some motorbikes. You can get some motorbike mounts if you drink Mountain Dew or Monster or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Activision food stuff going on right now.
Yeah, beginning November 4th, 2024 through January 31st, 2025. Gamers in the United States can purchase specially marked Mountain Dew, Rockstar energy drinks, and Doritos projects and submit on-pack codes at Doritos Do Rockstar for points. And those points can be accumulated with multiple purchases and redeemed for epic gaming rewards, such as Xbox hardware, game codes from Xbox titles including Avowed, and exclusive Xbox and Mountain Dew gear, and these in-game content items. And they have like something in Flight Sim, some skins or something, it looks like in Diablo 4, some stuff for World of Warcraft, like the Thrillbot 9000 and the Chillbot 9000, but also some bots. And something in Madden and something in Elder Scrolls. But also, there's a new flavor. Celebrate the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. Mountain Dew is bringing back Mountain Dew Game Fuel in 2 flavors, Citrus Cherry and New Citrus Blackberry. Perfect for every gaming sesh. Jeez, that's how they actually said it here, too.
We didn't even get sponsored for that read.
Yeah, well, just looking at it, like they got Avowed. They got Avowed on these Rockstar energy drinks. They got the dude from Diablo 4 on front of the Doritos bag. Same thing with the chick from World of Warcraft and stuff. So, yeah, nothing says gaming like Mountain Dew and Doritos. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Am I right, chat? Remember that picture that always goes around of the Dorito Pope of Jeff Keighley, of him just sitting. Chat knows this. You guys have to remember this. He's just sitting in front of a Halo 4 poster with Master Chief like running at the screen, and he's surrounded by like liters of Mountain Dew and like bags of Doritos.
I do like Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Like seriously, go to Google and type in Doritos Pope. I'm sure it's probably the first image that pops up. Yes, because you have to see this image. Come on,
Doritos
Pope.
Oh my god, how have I never seen?
You've never seen that picture of Jeff Keighley? That was on
what is that?
That was on Fox News. There was some debate back then about, I don't know, maybe it was
what?
Yeah, it was on like Fox News or one of the networks where like Jeff was there to talk about like, I think it was like violence in video games or some shit. And Jeff was just sitting there surrounded by Doritos and Mountain Dew. Like,
why?
I don't know.
Why? Did he put them there?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm gonna look into that. Maybe I'll ask him if I see him again.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably doesn't want to remember it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. That is weird, man.
State of Decay 2 also got its last update. So
yep.
Yeah,
that game's had a fantastic run.
Yeah. Although I think like the Undead Labs has been working fully on State of Decay 3 for a while. Does this mean this is just like Wushu's last update? Because I think they're the ones who took over State of Decay 2.
Yeah, Wushu Studios was working on State of Decay for the past year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose this is their contract being up. They did push out quite a beefy update for the last one. I had a look through the patch notes. There's like a lot of quality of life changes, some AI updates. It seems like a big final, patch that adds a lot of quality of life stuff, makes the game a little bit friendlier, and while also adding all the DLC that was ever limited edition to stuff like Mountain Dew. All that stuff has been dropped into the game, can spawn randomly in the game. A lot of the DLC cars can now spawn randomly in the game, all that kind of stuff. So State of Decay has had a pretty legendary run. Like, that's a great example of a very niche game that has a very, very passionate fan base. Very, very passionate fan base. And they've kept the game going all this time. And, fair play. And State of Decay 3 is probably my most anticipated game. Like Clockwork Revolution and State of Decay are my most anticipated games out of Microsoft first party, I think, for now. So I want to believe that everything they've learned from State of Decay 1 and 2 is going to be, poured straight into State of Decay 3. Obviously now they've got a lot of experience with Unreal Engine, which they didn't have before. First game was developed on CryEngine, I think, which wasn't very well designed for multiplayer. And also they didn't have the expertise to, do multiplayer properly in State of Decay 2, I think. But I'm really excited for State of Decay 3, man. I think it's going to be fantastic. I've heard so much good stuff about it, and I'm hyped for it, man. I'm here for it, bro.
I mean, yeah, I know you are. Hopefully I can get into this one for sure.
I've heard it's more character and story focused. Like there's going to be a lot of character archetypes where the way it works in the original game was that there was like the characters that you could find in the map. Sometimes they'd have like these sort of quests you could do. Apparently they've like doubled and tripled down on that aspect of the game. So when you do meet a character and they spawn with a character backstory, the backstory will actually be a lot more beefy and dynamic and interesting than what was in State of Decay 2. But we'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah. I wanted to mention this just to have a laugh because, and something that we all said was going to happen. Netflix shut down their new AAA studio that they built 2 years ago with Joseph Staten, who was, I forget what his exact role was in there. He left Xbox and 343 to join it. They also got like the art director from God of War, Sony Santa Monica joined it. They were kind of building this huge team over there in California. And even at the time when they said this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. But guess what? That game's never going to come out. And guess what? We were all right.
That's mean.
Because, well, dude, Netflix literally cancels shows after one season. They no matter like the fan support or whatever, they're very like bottom of the line company when it comes to, okay, here's the viewership, here's how much it costs, blah, 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 blah. Cancel it, renew it. And I know they're getting into like the gaming thing, but it's one thing to to kind of license little mobile games for people to play on their platform that nobody really actually uses, because I think they've said like the mobile push for them is like super low, like the amount of people that are actually download those games or whatever. So like I never believed in the idea that Netflix was going to fund a AAA studio in California and give them the 5 or 6 years it would take to make whatever game it would be, and for that game to be successful, considering how Netflix is. And sure enough, guess what? They decided they're going in a different way in gaming, and they shut the studio down. Who didn't see this coming?
They are fully clown coded. That company, man. They feel directionless. Netflix. They're trying to figure out how to grow, and they're just throwing money around, and they're not even waiting to see if it sticks. It's just this is the prime example of a company with too much money and too little sense, I think. And eventually it's going to bite them in the ass. I mean, they might be big now. Well, they might be doing great now.
They won the streaming wars, clearly.
They won the streaming wars, sure, but I think that there will come a point where it's like they won't be able to just waste all the money the way they're doing it. But it sucks for Joseph Staten, because I've heard that Joseph Staten was treated badly by Microsoft, and the way that the whole situation panned out between him and
343,
the guy who runs it now, and I heard that there was some politics there, and Staten was really done dirty, which is it's a big shame, because Staten has given a lot to Microsoft and Xbox, and he is Microsoft DNA, Xbox DNA. So I think it's a big shame that the way he was treated there. And from what I heard, like, some people were speculating that Joseph Staten had rejoined 343 because they recently took down a job listing for creative director, I think. Mm-hmm. Some people were speculating, that's why they're shutting down, because Joseph Staten went back to Xbox. But nah, from what I can tell, Microsoft was taken by surprise by this Netflix thing, and at least as of right now, doesn't seem to be any movement on that. But given the way that he was treated, I don't know, maybe this is like giving him a high up position at Xbox. Maybe some could go to making it up to him, maybe, or something like that. I really hope he does land back at Xbox, because he's a fantastic guy. I haven't heard a single person say a bad thing about him. And he's sort of like, he's been someone who is a producer that gets games over the finish line, no matter what the development's been in. So, he's the reason that, or he's a big part of the reason that Halo Infinite was able to turn it around, and eventually become something that was,
basically launched the game, because it was in such a dire state. Yeah. It was like, remember, it was supposed to launch with the Series X, and they delayed it a year, and
yeah, it started approaching what it I suppose could have been once Joseph Staten took the reins, and that's the kind of role he played at Xbox and Microsoft, was fixing problems, and that's why, like, it would have been ideal for him to go back to not just being a problem solver, but like go back to flex your creative muscles and rebuild the whole Halo brand, because that's kind of what it needs right now, I think. But
it's kind of does seem that's what they're doing too, with the rebranding and then the Unreal Engine stuff. But yeah. So no surprise Netflix kind of made that. I just never believed that they would stick with it long enough, to release something that was super expensive, and who knows, if it would have. Who knows? I mean, who knows what type of game it was going to. I think it was going to be a single player game, but it was going to have a massive budget. But yeah, they shut that down. So. You know what? Let's take a look at some of these Patreon questions. Appreciate everyone being here. Yeah. If you haven't already, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It's all free. Just click on those little buttons and make Rand happy, make Jez happy. And we got
you should also check us out on Patreon. The Patreon's free too, so if you want like just updates on when the show is, like if the show's delayed and stuff like that, you can sign up to the free Patreon and just go patreon.com/XB2, and you don't have to pay anything. You get all those updates and notifications on what's going on with the show and things like that. and also some behind the scenes stuff. So you don't have to pay anything, but the higher tiers do have extra shows and Q&As and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
check us out.
Yeah, so patreon.com/XB2, and we got Laser Wolf with the first question. He says, Jez, your preview about Stalker 2 is very intriguing and has me interested in playing, but can you tell me how scary the game is? Because I don't like scary games.
That's a great question. I'm honestly not sure on this one because it does have a lengthy day and night cycle. And I played it mostly in the day. So playing during the day, I would say it wasn't that scary. But I also only saw the beginning areas of the game. I didn't really see much of the more intense areas or the more irradiated areas. I suppose as you get closer towards Chernobyl itself, because obviously the game takes place in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and you start off on the outskirts, right, where it's not so bad, it's not so irradiated, and maybe there's not so many mutants. I could see it getting quite scary as you get closer towards the epicenter, and also, playing at night or in the dark, and the day and night cycle is lengthy. So when it's nighttime, you're in nighttime for a long time, as long as the day cycle, because it's got that kind of hardcore aspect to it. So I don't know. It's not really, I don't think it's necessarily designed for jump scares. It's designed for atmospherics. Although I think sometimes there probably would be times where emergent jump scares would happen. So if you're particularly squeamish and particularly don't like jump scares and flying around in the dark and having to use a light and stuff like that, because obviously some of the points of interest, like there'll be caves, there'll be facilities with no electricity, so you have to use a torch and stalk around in the shadows. I think you might want to give it a miss. But if you want to sort of get a taste of what Stalker might be like, you could try playing one of the recent Metro games. They're not exactly like Stalker, like they're a little bit more linear than Stalker is, but I have the same kind of vibe. Maybe I would say Stalker maybe is even more, Metro's maybe even more leans towards horror, but they're a similar kind of vibe. So if you can tolerate Metro, I'd say you'd be able to tolerate Stalker. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to pass that one because I don't think it's necessarily a horror game, but it kind of is at the same time. I don't know.
Okay, we got Steven, who says, not much of a question. I've already sent Jez a message about this on Twitter, but would once again like to thank him for the article he wrote during the week regarding Xbox and the dual digital physical licensing model. It's very important that people who have a preference to buy their games physically aren't left behind next generation and beyond. Hope he keeps preaching for this, and hopefully it doesn't fall on deaf ears. Was that your article about how Xbox's digital ownership is 90%, but they shouldn't leave physical game collectors behind or something like that? Was that?
Yeah, I was kind of arguing that they should revive the old model that everyone hated, or at least people said they hated it. Because in that model, you get the digital license with the disc, but the trade-off is the disc is tied to your account. But you can unlink it with a participating retailer. So people freaked out because they were like, "Oh my god, what about the mom and pop stores?"
It's too convoluted.
Yeah.
Well, hell, there might not even be any. I mean, think about it. GameStop was prevalent in 2013. There's GameStop.
People return shit to Amazon all the time, and
sure,
people return shit to Walmart all the time. So if it's a Walmart, for example, doing this trading program, then it would work. But even still, I think there should be some kind of way that Microsoft could facilitate having a not leave disc-based collectors behind, because I think that's a shame. I think it's a shame to lose the disc-based audience and just let discs die. I mean, kind of already happened on Steam, and I don't really think anyone mourns physical PC discs. I think, but at the same time, it's that's always been a part of Xbox gaming and console gaming, is that you have the option to have a physical disc or a physical dick, as Rand like to say. But yeah, I don't know. I'll send that article around to people at Microsoft and see what they think about it.
Let me ask you this question:
Probably is wishful thinking, to be honest.
How high is the likelihood that the next Xbox and PlayStation don't have a disc drive standard?
75%, I would say. Probably.
Okay. Do you think they would offer it as an add-on like PlayStation does right now?
I think at the very least, to start with, they'll offer it as an add-on. I think at least PlayStation will offer it as an add-on.
Because Xbox is all about like back compatibility and all that stuff and game preservation, but I don't see how you can be about that if you don't have a disc drive and you're cutting out all the people who have the discs from the Xbox Series X to Xbox One to 360 to the OG Xbox, unless you were somehow able to be like, I don't know, all your licenses transfer to PC, so you have them on PC. But then some people are like, well, I don't want them on PC, or I want to play them here. You know?
Yeah.
I guess we'll need to see how what their thinking is on that and what they
at the
implement.
very least. I mean, I think one reason they'll be reluctant to add a USB-based physical disk drive is because the potential, I don't know, for security issues like, DRM and shit like that. Maybe it could get hacked more easily. That kind of thing, right? And maybe that makes it too expensive for, consumers to buy. But I still think they should do it. They should find some solution to keep disc-based collectors in the loop. And, I'll try and get some information out of Microsoft at some point about what that could look like.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, Sarah Bond has a team dedicated to forwards compatibility. But I could also see a scenario where Microsoft just says fuck it and just ditches it.
We got For the Brand says, hey fellas, happy Friday, hope you had a great week. This week I want to voice my frustration a bit with Fallout Day, which happened on the 23rd. No news of upcoming projects or even an update on season 2 of the Fallout TV show. My question is, do you think Xbox possibly hurts itself saying these announcements for the Game Awards or the June showcase? I personally think it would be a good opportunity to announce big things at smaller events to really surprise the community. What are your thoughts? Have a great weekend, fellas. Well, I think it's like I said earlier. I think with the success of Fallout and how big the brand got this year, I think they want to do stuff like this because like having an own special event kind of makes the IP seem more important. The problem is they're probably not ready to announce new projects, but you want to like have a thing where like let's get going. Like the TV show's a huge hit, everybody's playing these games on every platform. Let's have a Fallout Day. Let's really kind of go for that. And then at some point in the future, you will have those announcements, whether it's a new spin-off Fallout game, whether it's Fallout 5, whether it's some behind the scenes thing for the next season of the TV show or a remaster of previous Fallout stuff. At some point, you need to start doing that. And I think what precipitated this decision was the TV show. So you're going to start doing it. And yeah, this first one, okay, there's not a lot you can show. We're going to talk about Fallout 76. But then next year's, maybe you do have a look at the TV show, and you give some stuff about Fallout 76, and maybe there's an announcement about something else. But I think it's more like we want to start doing this with an eye for the future and to build up the Fallout brand, to keep it as like a huge thing. At least that's my take on it. I don't know if you have a different one, Jez.
Sorry, what was the question exactly?
The Fallout Day. He thinks it's like he thinks Xbox possibly hurts itself saving the announcements for the Game Awards of the June showcase, but he thinks it's a good basically you ever see like them announce something big at a Fallout Day rather than announce it at a showcase or like the Game Awards. Like, would you announce a Fallout 5 at a Fallout Day and not at their game showcase? You know what I mean?
I honestly think I would actually.
Yeah.
I think you could do an announcement for Fallout. You could do an announcement for Fallout at the show, maybe with a teaser, and then do the full gameplay at the actual show. So I would not be against that, and I honestly don't think Microsoft necessarily would be against that either. I think it's a good shout potentially, and I think it's something that they probably would do in the future. But I'm not 100% sure what their thought process will be on some of that stuff. Because I could see both sides of it, right? I could see the pros and cons of doing it or not doing it.
Well, because
I think
I could tell you the cons of doing it is that this is the first Fallout Day, and it probably didn't really have a lot of viewers, right? And so if you were to announce a Fallout 5 or one of these things, there's really not going to get a lot of hype because nobody's really watching it, because the announcement for these things it's like, yeah, nobody expects anything at these Fallout
be
Day
a good
events.
way to make a splash, though.
It would be
if you are doing a new event.
But I think I think the reason why they're doing this is because they are trying to maintain Fallout as this big IP because of the success of the TV show. With Fallout 76 coming and other projects, so like
there'd be a school of thought where it's like, well, if the IP is really big, then you give it its own day.
Sure. I think that's what they're doing, but then I also think a Fallout 5 announcement would be one that you would make where there's as many eyes that are on it as possible. Right, and then maybe you could have them talk about it at Fallout Day or something, because
I really think they should just do both.
Yeah, I mean they could do both.
Announce it at Fallout Day, showcase it at the Xbox event, because then you get both audiences, right? And then you can also build up Fallout Day to be an actual event.
Right, you could build up Fallout Day like BlizzCon or QuakeCon or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe without the con part, but they make announcements at both of those things. So yeah. We have Silas who says, "Hey guys, I'm still trying to wrap my head around who really is asking for an Xbox handheld outside of the hardcore base." Oh man, you're probably not going to like this one, Jez. With that being said, what would be the advantage of getting an Xbox handheld over the inevitable Steam Deck 2? It will be subsidized, be a Gen 2 product, can play all the Xbox games available like the OG Deck does, and have the benefits of the Steam overlay. Yes, Jez. So why would anybody want an Xbox handheld over the Steam Deck 2?
Well, we don't know exactly what form the Xbox handheld is going to take yet. But here's my assumptions, right? A, it will be subsidized. So it'll be cheaper than your Asus ROG Ally. B, it will run Xbox games. So it's not like it will run your pre-existing library of Xbox games. I really think it has to do that. If it's Windows based and Xbox Play Anywhere based only, then I completely agree that it's pointless. I don't know why you would bother treading on the toes of Asus and Lenovo making a non-subsidized piece of kit, because if it is Windows based, then it isn't subsidized, right? So I think it has to run the existing library of games. Otherwise, it's pointless. And if it does run the existing library of games, well, there's your answer. It's like, well, it's my Xbox library, but on the go. Because right now, if I want to go on the go, I need to use cloud, and unfortunately, can't use cloud on the plane, can't use cloud on the train, can't use cloud in the car, can't use cloud basically while you're traveling at all.
Is this a Dr. Seuss rhyme?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could ask Microsoft Copilot to write me a Dr. Seuss rhyme about places I can't use cloud gaming. But there's a hell of a lot of places you can't use cloud gaming. So this would be for the hardcore who have an existing library of games, really. But also, for, people who want a companion device that attaches Game Pass, in essence, I think this could be popular with PlayStation users. Sony presumably doing a handheld as well, to be honest. But, with the Xbox handheld, you're going to have like Game Pass attached to it, which, you could use that for your Game Pass games and then PlayStation for your PlayStation bangers, right? I don't know. But we'll see. Maybe it is pointless and no one will like it.
Yeah, we'll have to see what it is.
I know Rand sure as hell won't like it.
I don't know. Maybe I would. Maybe I will. Who knows?
I don't think so, bro.
Yeah, probably not. And when it doesn't do well, or when it's like just does okay, be like, who told you so? And you'd be like, oh boy, it's great though. Ugh.
You're mean, bro.
Yeah.
You're a mean guy.
Mike, he says, hello guys, do you think Black Ops 6 is going to push Game Pass numbers? Yes. The question is how much though? Analysts say anywhere between 2 to 4 million at the cost of 6 million sales. Are they always right? Is it going to be less than 2 million? Greater than 4 million? I don't know. I mean, maybe this is where I think maybe reviews might help a bit, where if the game's reviewed really well, there's probably more people might be interested in checking it out or downloading it, where if it was like, oh, this is just a shitty game, I'm not going to bother, like last year's or whatever, right? Where the higher review scores might cause people to check it out, and maybe they end up liking it. I don't know. But yeah, I would imagine it would do some numbers. If Starfield's going to do some numbers, then I would imagine Call of Duty Black Ops 6 will do some numbers. It's just a question of how much, and that's not something we'll know. And I'm not sure, even if it's really good, like say it pushes 5 million more users, right? I'm not even sure we ever find that out. I'm not sure Microsoft even makes an announcement about that.
Yeah, maybe.
Because, used to, like, Activision always make these announcements of how much money Black Ops 6 made in a weekend or whatever. They're like, oh, we made $1 billion in 3 days, and they would compare it to launches of, like, these big movies or whatever. And it was like, see, like, we make more money than the movies. Maybe they make an announcement of, like, hey, in the first week, 30 million people played Black Ops 6 or something. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what sort of announcements they do make out of this. Logan says, hey guys, hope all is well. Just wanted to say that I hope Xbox puts the Black Ops 6 marketing team in charge of everything Xbox marketing. They completely aced the assignment. Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of stuff for it. And I wouldn't be against the idea of them being in charge of some of the other Xbox games, but I guess you could say, though, they can afford to put all that, all of it behind the COD marketing, because they know the money's going to come. But, like, you can't really do that for South of Midnight or Hellblade 2, because different games with different budgets, and you can't really give those games the budget of a major motion picture because they're not expected to make that much back. But I get what you're saying. Like, I think the marketing's been pretty good for this game. Huckleberry says, okay, this is for Jez, as I'm sure I have seen this $90 auction house mailbox anniversary Brutosaur mount. Are you paying attention to this, Jez? So it's for you.
Yes. Yep.
I saw the price and was like, what the fuck? You can't tell me they aren't trying to get this Activision Blizzard money any way they can. By the way, I still paid $50 for it, haha. Used in-game gold for tokens.
Oh, yeah, that's another aspect of the drama, right?
Oh, is it? Okay.
So you can buy World of Warcraft game time, right? By spending gold you've earned in-game, right? And the reason they did that is because one of the issues they had with World of Warcraft in the early days was people from third world countries would farm gold and then sell it to other players. And it created this whole black market, right? Where people would bot and hack and steal gold to sell on the black market, right? So Blizzard took away the black market by letting you basically get your own money by basically trading your gold for a token, right? But the Brutosaurus mount has caused inflation on the token because everyone's doing what our lovely patron has done, which is turn their actual gold into money to buy the fucking dinosaur with. So that's caused the price of the token to go up as well. And obviously Blizzard takes a cut on the token. So basically Blizzard's winning from every direction now, but it's caused a lot of disruption in the game. One dinosaur has, because a lot of people, they don't actually pay monthly to play the game. They actually just make the money in the game by playing and then just buy the game time with this token, right? And what was the other part of the question about the mount? I forgot now. Like explaining the drama. What was the other part of the question?
No, it was more of a statement. So,
Okay.
A question, yeah. It's quite small, but smells like a big one. Says, any truth to the rumors surrounding Scalebound being redeveloped? This is a special Nick banger from a couple years ago.
Yeah, actually, like Special Nick actually told me yesterday that Scalebound is in development right now.
Really? He said that to you?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Special Nick literally said that to me yesterday. He told me Scalebound's in development right now, and it's in development by From Software, actually, yeah.
From Software. Are you trying to come up with a developer where you'd say it and it's just bullshit because nobody would actually believe From Software would be working on Scalebound?
What? What are you talking about? This is actually what he told me.
Oh, okay.
He actually told me
Poor
that From
special Nick.
Software, Miyazaki,
Miyazaki's game director of it, huh?
Lead developer.
You know what? We don't. The world doesn't need another. The
world
world doesn't need Dark Souls 4. Doesn't need Elden Ring 2. Doesn't need a new Armored Core. Doesn't need a new IP from Software. What it needs is a revival of Platinum Games Scalebound by From Software with Miyazaki as the game director.
No. And not only that, it's the new Scalebound is like with From Software. It is becoming a Souls-like.
Oh, okay.
So it's Scalebound Souls-like. And it's going to be reworked with a darker tone. So Scalebound Souls-like, darker tone, and also there's a mobile version coming too.
A mobile version as well. Okay,
Yeah.
They're going all out for this.
And they're also doing a demake version for the N64.
You have to.
N60. Yeah. So that's everything. That's what Nick told me. So, take it with a great pinch of salt. It is special Nick. Yes. You can go and ask him about it if you want.
Yeah, hit up the Xbox Era Twitter account. Adam at Nick at Xbox Era. They're doing the podcast tomorrow. Make sure you ask him about it.
Yep.
But I sort of feel real answer here. I feel like maybe this could have been a thing, but with Kamiya leaving Platinum Games, it probably ain't a thing no more. Because he was the game director of it. It was his baby.
Yeah, it was something he'd planned for many, many years, right?
So if there was ever an inkling of like, hey, Platinum, you want to work with us again? Let's do Scalebound. And he was still there. Maybe it could have been something that was in conversation, but with him leaving and I think a lot of people from Platinum leaving to join whatever he's going to do next, it probably ain't happening anymore. There's no reason to do it. I think there's no reason to do it regardless. So,
yeah, I don't think Scalebound's coming back, fortunately.
Yeah. Steven,
maybe reworked into something else with Kamiya's new studio or something. But the Scalebound as a brand and an entity, you ain't seeing that again. No chance.
Stephen Doyle says, Jez Rand loved the show and just recently became a member. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Question, what's your most anticipated indie game or games for 2025 and why?
Indie game?
Yeah.
That is tough. Well, I'm going to say the Alters, because even though 11-bit is getting pretty big now and starting to push the limit of definition of what indie is, still technically indie for now. So I'm going to say the Alters.
I'm going to say
the Alters.
Hollow Knight Silk Song. Hopefully Cross Fingers comes out next year.
I just instantly imagined that clown meme of the little Hollow Knight dude with the clown mask on, because that's what you're sort of putting into the ether while you say that, right?
I mean, you would think 2025 would be it, and I loved me Hollow Knight. What about this game, Jez? What about Claire Obscura Expedition 33? Isn't that an indie game?
Oh shit, yeah. I suppose that's technically an indie game. Like, it's got a pretty high budget cast attached to it, though.
Sure does.
I'm intrigued to know who's actually funding that game, because they've clearly got some serious backing. But there's a ton of hype behind it. Like, it looks really good. So Claire Obscura is up there for me as someone who did like the old school Final Fantasy games. But what I really hope for this is that it gives Square Enix a kick up the arse, and it's like, look, turn-based is what people want.
Yes.
From this kind of game. So bring it back, you idiots. Here's how to do it. Go for it. Because I keep playing Final Fantasy 16, and I keep thinking this would be so much better if it was turn-based. This would be so much better if it was turn-based. Every step I take in that game, because the combat, boring as hell. I'm sorry. It's boring. It's flashy, but boring.
It's very flashy.
So it's flashy, but boring. You could make that way more interesting if it was tactical, if it was turn-based. You had a party you could actually control, characters that you traveled with, all that kind of stuff. That's what Final Fantasy 16 is really lacking. Because the combat, terrible. It's boring as hell, bro. Most boring combat I've ever experienced in a game, I think.
Jeez. I also say Replaced. I am looking forward to that game come out. It's been a couple years now, but
I don't know much about that.
It's that neon noir kind of looking game from a couple years ago, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. Achievement says, what if the next Xbox has select Windows features for gaming? Select Windows features key for gaming. Like, obviously you can stream directly from the console, but say you can actually edit from it. Have accessories like an optional webcam. And maybe they can use the NPU to do things like detect licensed music and change it during gameplay for streamers. They can even have a quick AI edit you so you can post a review that you can get your posting content quicker. I feel like streamers would praise it, and most kids these days listen to what their favorite streamers say. If they say just buy an Xbox, like when Extreme Ports people used to just say just buy a GoPro, I think they could get free marketing.
Believe it or not, you can actually plug a webcam into your Xbox right now.
Yeah.
The APIs for webcams is actually live on Xbox already. So the Xbox already does have some of those, hooks, like as the Windows drivers for keyboards and mice, for example, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how they do the next gen console, because one of the issues the current gen console has is this hypervisor setup where the sort of operating system portion doesn't get access to the full hardware. So like you can't run something like Clipchamp on it because it doesn't have access to the RAM. It doesn't have full access to all the RAM that it needs, all that kind of stuff. So I think if they are going to go with a more unified operating system, then you could get a bunch more Windowsy kind of use cases out of the next Xbox, and I really hope they do, because I think if they are going for this universe of versatility and openness and all that kind of stuff, then I think you do need that kind of aspect to it. But we'll see how it all goes down, man. I mean, it's a long road to that game the next Xbox coming out, I think.
Right. I mean, yeah. I don't look. I mean, it's an interesting idea, and Achievement always has really great ideas when he writes these things. But I don't really see like any streamers moving from just PC to just an Xbox just because of some AI things that you probably could get on your PC anyways. So I don't really see that like being a thing. And I don't really see like a thing of being like, well, that's what's gonna save like or be a big instrument to its success is like, making features for streamers or YouTubers as a thing. Like that's why you need to get this, because you can plug in your keyboard and your mouse and your camera and stream, when it would just be probably more efficient and easier just to get a PC to do all that stuff.
Yeah, and there actually is a streaming service on Xbox called Lightstream, which is a cloud-based streaming service, which will send your Xbox DVR up to the cloud and stream it to Twitch for you. There's a delay, but it's not like it exists, So, and I mean, there are some people using it. I saw that I got a press release from Lightstream the other day where they're like, new features, blah 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 blah, and all this stuff. But clearly they've got a business there, but yeah, I don't know. I think having the ability to access Steam will be pretty big in of itself. I've got a large Steam library. There's a lot of games on Steam that on Xbox and probably won't ever come to Xbox, like Factorio, for example. Factorio's just got its DLC on Steam, the Space Age, which I've downloaded and I want to check out. But if I ever had 5 minutes to actually try something, that'd be great, wouldn't it, Rand?
Yeah, right. All right, so we have Omen, who says, so those Call of Duty campaign reviews are looking pretty strong. IGN gave it a 9. Do you think there's any chance it'll be nominated for Game of the Year?
Good question. No. I don't think game journalists like Call of Duty.
Well, I mean, game journalists at IGN just gave the campaign a 9, did they not?
Yeah, but are they the same journalists on the panel? Are they in the San Fran cabal?
I mean, if somehow all the reviews pointed it that way, and it was like a transformative or at least a return to form for the Call of Duty campaign, and like it averaged a 90, then there's probably a chance, right? But if you're looking at like what I think is locked in right now for Game of the Year nominations, you're looking at Metaphor, I think. You're looking at Astrobot. You're looking at Final Fantasy. You're looking at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think you got those 3 games locked in, and probably Balatro. So
yeah,
like
Balatro.
there may be like 4 games locked in at that point. And there's still other, games that like, is Silent Hill 2 gonna make it? What about like something like Dragon's Dogma
I don't think a remake makes it.
Or Like a Dragon? What do you mean? Like Final Fantasy VII Remake was nominated.
Yeah, I don't think it wins.
Oh, well, no, I mean, it's like talking about like nominated. He was talking about being just nominated, like one of the 6 spots.
Fair enough.
I guess it depends on all the other reviews. And maybe. Pandaman77 says, hello, editor, executive, and YouTube millionaire. Yeah, I wish. Love the show. Thinking about the Series S and the handheld, do you think they will do 3 SKUs this next gen? Series X2, a Series X2, a Series X2S, and a Series X2S handheld? They might be able to different play styles with each of them. I don't think so. I think it's just going to be 2. I think it's going to be whatever the successor to the Series X is, and then a handheld. That's what it's going to be. I don't think they do two consoles.
Yeah, I'm operating under the belief that they're doing a Series X2 and a handheld. But given how popular the Series S has been, it would be a shame if they didn't have an option for that price point. So part of me wonders if the low end of the maybe they do like multiple SKUs for the handheld, and they do a low end version of the handheld that has decreased decreased storage, maybe 512 gigabytes or something like that, or 256 even maybe, and then market it like this is for indies and 2D games or whatever. Maybe that could be the price when they meet the price point there, or maybe they just continue selling the Series S. I mean, we're not really in the old school universe where the old consoles get completely abandoned. Like they're still releasing games for the Xbox One and PS4. Black Ops 6 come out on last gen, I think it did, right?
Yes, it did.
So we're still seeing games release on those systems. So maybe they just keep the Series S in circulation and don't stop selling it, because I think like these consoles last now longer than they used to. So a different world we're in, I wouldn't be surprised if the next gen consoles sell very slowly, because a lot of people are just like, I'm happy with my PS5 and my Xbox Series, and the amount of stock they allocate to that effort reflects that. But we'll see what happens.
We got good old Collinwood who says, hello, Rand, and congratulations, Jez. So in my country, at the end of the weekend, all 3G services will be turned off and only phones with 4G voice LTE will be able to be used. That means that after over 13 years of service, my Lumia 640 XL smartphone will no longer be usable for what it was intended for.
No.
That being said, what is the oldest piece of tech that you are still using to this day?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's funny actually. I wrote a review this past week about the Astro A50 Gen 5 headset, which came out last month. So I did my review. I worked really hard on it. I think it's going live tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in Astro A50, I hope you check it out. However, I unplugged it all and put it back in the box, and I might give it away, even though I really like the headset and I gave it high grade. I put it back in the box, and the reason for that is I still prefer my A50 Gen 3. And the reason for that is it's got an optical port in it, and the optical port lets me capture the audio from the TV while I'm podcasting. Whereas if I was going to use the new one, I'd have to use Bluetooth, and Bluetooth isn't as reliable, and also it's fiddly. I have to get the remote and click connect to external audio source, hold the Bluetooth button and pair it, and I'll do all that stuff. Whereas on the Gen 3, I've just got the cable going straight in from the TV. So That's currently the oldest piece of tech that I'm still using. These my Gen 3 Astro 50s, just because it's really good for podcasting. So I can still hear Rand while playing my Xbox.
My my iPhone is from 2020 because I got a iPhone 12. My computer is brand new. I literally just bought this PC a year ago.
Yeah, we all know about your doorstop.
My TV is a CX, so that's from 2020. I think I'm with you, Jez. I think what it might be is my Astro 50s.
Have you got the AI50s as well, same as me?
Yeah, I think
this is the Gen 3.
I think I have the Gen 4s. I think.
All right.
Because I've been using them before 2020, so I think I got them in like 2019 or 2018.
2019,
something like that.
Yeah.
So trying to think.
Oh, actually, am mine the Gen 4 then? Maybe mine is the Gen 4. Yeah, but I hate that a lot of the headsets have gotten rid of the optical port. I hate that the Xbox has got rid of the optical port. I really like that damn port. Why are they all getting rid of it?
I think because nobody uses it.
Yeah, nobody uses it.
What I like about it is I have my A50s. I have it plugged into the back of my TV to the optical port, right? So I can play Xbox games or PlayStation game. So I could be in a party on Xbox and then play a PlayStation game if I want, and still talk to people there, right? So there's no like switching for me because it's like whatever the TV picks up, but because it's plugged into the Xbox, like the USB, it picks up the party chat if you're party chatting from there. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Yeah, it's great. Love it. Love it for that. Fantastical says, "Hi guys, I'm very happy to have a podcast that I can listen to ease my mind. I'm a singer and a guitarist in a band, and we are about to have our first gig next Thursday, and I'm really starting to get anxious. That leads me to a music-related question. With physical media on its way out, what are your favorite or most influential music albums of all time? The most influential albums for me were probably the Black Album from Metallica, which ignited my fascination for metal. Another influential one is Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was the first album I bought with my own money and made me start playing guitar. My favorite album is The Sufferer and The Witness by Rise Against. Apart from one song that is just okay and one song that is a stinker, the album is filled with bangers. I wonder what yours are. Have a nice weekend, gentlemen." Oh, music question. Love it. Well, hopefully your gig goes really well. Hopefully you can fight the anxiousness, but I get it. Like having your first gig, definitely going to have those nerves.
Yeah, it's spooky.
Hopefully it goes well. Albums, you see, there's always a tradition. Like I always kind of think of when I first really kind of started getting into music and starting to really enjoy it was kind of the mid 1990s when I was about in like 7th or 8th grade. So at that point in time, I think my first album I ever purchased was 9 Inch Nails' The Downward Spiral.
Mm.
And I at that time I started to really kind of get into grunge. So I like bought, Nevermind from Nirvana or In Utero, the Black Album, or was it the Black Album for Pearl Jam? Or it was 10, Pearl Jam's 10. Soundgarden's, I forget the name, what was their album called? But even like still like Green Day, Dookie. I think maybe the first one that I remember like listening to and liking a lot was like Offspring's Self-Esteem album. You remember that one, Jez? Did you ever listen to Offspring?
Never an Offspring fan.
Never an Offspring's fan. So there's that. Like that's what I kind of started my love affair with music, was kind of the music that was kind of coming out in like 93, 94, 95. And then as my buddy started to get into drugs, he started to find the more melodic stuff like Led Zeppelin or The Who, Pink Floyd. So like if I had to say what's my favorite album of all time, it's probably Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
I've never listened to that, you know.
Dude, you need to. It's an incredible album. So there's all that. Like there's a lot, man. I like, I don't know, alternative rock, I guess, was what I was sort of raised up on, and I love, I love Metallica just as much as anybody else, or like Megadeth or Slipknot and Marilyn Manson, at least like in the beginning. Dude, I remember like my mom was like so I like deliberately started playing like Marilyn Manson in my room on my
Were you a rebel?
Yeah, because I knew how much it like bothered her, and I would like blare Antichrist Superstar, and it would just make, I think they like wanted to send me to therapy, right? Because she believed all the stuff about
bad.
there was
a big panic about him, right?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah, I've been into music like since I was really young. I used to play in a band as well, play guitar. I used to write songs. I wrote quite a lot of music. If you search on YouTube, you might actually find one of my songs, which was played at BlizzCon #1, by the way, which is my biggest claim to fame ever. But the first album I ever bought was Ace of Base, Happy Nation. In the early 90s, I was a little kid, man. I was like 5 or 6 years old. But I absolutely loved Ace of Base, and I still do listen to Ace of Base sometimes. I think I mentioned that on an Xbox 2 podcast before. Big nostalgia for me there. But also, like when I was growing up, I really loved Queen. I really loved Angelo Badalamenti, which is the guy who works with David Lynch on the soundtrack. So I had the Twin Peaks soundtrack on vinyl when I was a little kid, and I used to listen to that constantly. So those are like big influences on me for some reason. But then like Rand, like when I got a bit older, I went in the exact same direction as Rand. Alternative rock, grunge, Nirvana, Nine Inch Nails. But I think probably the album that was really big on me influentially in that era was probably Slipknot's first album. That was like, I never really heard metal up until then. So like a lot of people around our age, they were like Metallica was their introduction to metal, but Slipknot was my introduction to metal. I'd never heard anything like it ever. Obviously, it was never on the radio. None of my family were really into that kind of music. So when I heard Slipknot on MTV, and on their late night alternative show.
Back when MTV actually played music videos sometimes.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah. The good old days. I don't remember what the show was called, but late at night they used to play like alternative stuff. And I wanted to. There was this great show on MTV I used to watch it was called Syphil and Ollie, and it was these two sock puppets. And like after that sock puppet show, there was Slipknot, and I was like, oh shit, this is fantastic. So from then on, I was just like, yeah, metal, and it was like Slipknot, and then Korn. I saw Slipknot on
Korn, Limp Bizkit, Stained. Like what was that called? Like the new metal or whatever it was called.
New metal, yeah. The new metal wave, I was all over that, and Mudvayne. I love Mudvayne a lot. Rammstein. I grew out of some of that stuff. Like, I still like, I listen to Korn sometimes for nostalgia purposes, but these days I listen to a lot of alternative music. So I like indie. I like sort of like post-punk a lot. I like Killing Joke. I like 80s music a lot. I just like the 80s vibe, I think. I love post-punk. But there's a lot of modern revival post-punk I like Lebanon Hanover, which I know is pretty viral on TikTok, but okay, they're fantastic. I also listen to rap music as well. I really liked Eminem. These days I like Tyler the Creator. I don't listen to as much rap as just then it's about you start getting bottlenecked, right, by time. It's like I need to discover
I remember
music,
like being a freshman in high school, or maybe it was like a senior. I think maybe it was my senior year of high school, but freshman year of college when Eminem blew up, and everybody was like listening to Eminem and stuff, or like Dr. Dre.
Yeah, Eminem's first album was like, I was like, oh my god, this is messed up, but I love it.
Yeah.
It was just all edgy music. I listened to Manson as well, Marilyn Manson.
Red Hot Chili Peppers are great. I listen to them a lot. Audio Slave when Chris Cornell joined them. Linkin Park. Some great bands out there, but also like some of my friends were very much like what you would call stoners. So when I would like go there, it'd be like Pink Floyd, and here's the Who, and here's like Blue Oyster Cult and Rush. Oh god, I ended up really loving Rush.
These are all bands my stepdad loves, man. You should talk music, my stepdad.
But then because they get high, and they'd sit there and listen to the music and just veg out, and I'd be sitting there being like, I mean, the music's great and sure, but it's like, yo, dude, you hear that drum fill, man? Neil Peart's a god, dude. And I was like, yeah.
Why? I thought you were from Chicago. You're in California.
Well, I mean, that's the Stone. That's what they sound like.
Yeah,
and then you go out there and you'd have like discussions about like, yo, is there anything out there okay, yeah. Go back and lay down and whatever. Like, clearly you're out.
Oh, man.
Great times as a 19-year-old or 18-year-old and 20-year-old and stuff. Awesome times. Anyways, we have, let's see, another one here. We have SJ Dub, who says, hello, fellas. Hope you're both doing well. How long do you guys think we are realistically from an Xbox handheld? Call it FOMO or whatever, but I've been itching lately to buy a handheld like the ROG Ally, so that I can continue to play games when I'm away from my Series X. Jez, talk me out of buying a ROG Ally, please. Just kidding. Have a good one.
Don't buy a ROG Ally right now, because unless you've got tons of disposable income, because the Z2 Extreme is right around the corner. And I think by next summer, if you can wait that long, I mean, you're going to get a few months out of it, but I think by next summer at the latest, you're going to see a ROG Ally 2 that is orders of magnitude better than what's available.
And there's got to be a Steam Deck 2 got to be coming soon.
No. They said they're not going to do a Steam Deck until there's a generational leap, was their word.
I think we're 2 years away from seeing the Xbox handheld, or at least it being out, I guess. I guess there's a possibility for next year, but I'll remain more conservative and say 2026. That's what I think. And we got Trixar for Trey. How pissed would you both be if the strategy of Satya led to no more consoles and now you have to play with the PS controller? I hate it. I don't like the PlayStation controller. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't mind playing a PlayStation. Like, I play over there when there's a game, an exclusive game or something I can't play on Xbox, like Silent Hill 2. And the DualSense is the best controller PlayStation's ever made, but it still pales in comparison to the Xbox controller. And if, hypothetically speaking, if Xbox really just, let's say Satya came out and, let's say like Jez was saying, there's a business update in a couple years and Phil introduces Satya and Satya is like, hey guys, you know how much I care about you Xbox players? And then Satya is like, I don't give a shit about any of you. Fuck you all. Console's dead, right? No more console for Xbox. I don't think I would just be like, well, I'm just going to go play on PlayStation. I'd probably just start playing on PC at that point. Right? But I don't know if I wouldn't be one of those people that would be on Twitter being like, guys, I hate Xbox, blah, 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 I'm, going over here now, and then make my whole personality about the thing that I left or the thing that I don't like anymore when I used to be about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it always makes me laugh when people go on Twitter and announce they're quitting Xbox or PlayStation or whatever. Like, I want you guys to know I'm quitting this consumer product, and you all need to know it. Like, who gives a fuck? Just go. Just
it's not an airport. You don't need to announce your departures.
No, exactly. Like,
but I mean, they're just looking for sympathy and they're looking for whatever. But that's not me. I mean, I barely use Twitter as is, and maybe we would probably continue to do the podcast. But I just like, this is what I'm playing, and if someone asks like, "What are you playing on?" Be like, "Oh, I'm just playing it on PC." Right? I don't know. I don't think I'd become the spurned girlfriend where they get rid of the console and then I'm just complaining about it.
Yeah.
And every tweet of Phil's replies or Satya's replies or getting on everybody's podcast and being like, fucking they wronged, because I don't know, like that sort of anger and that sort of resentment kind of like that goes deep sometimes.
Bad for your health, man.
And it's just like
bad for your health. It literally, like, I played pretty much all summer on PC. Like, I played Final Fantasy 16, I played World of Warcraft, I played Diablo on PC mostly. I barely touched my Xbox all summer. I didn't fucking announce it on Twitter. I don't, like, who gives a shit? You know, I talked about the games I played, but there's all this platform war stuff. It's just so hilariously cringe, like, from either direction. I do want Xbox to do better for customers that it is suckered into their ecosystem, you know, and that's just part of like wanting them, the $1 trillion company, to give consumers a better deal. That's my mission, and that's what I feel like our mission should be as content creators, is to hold truth to power, you know, where applicable. But I'm also not gonna let it ruin my life. You know, like, I joke about Windows Phone and missing it and stuff, but it, like, you know, I don't lose sleep over it. I'm pretty happy with my Samsung Galaxy 24. It's just stuff at the end of the day. It's all just plastic stuff, and there are more important things to actually get upset about in the world. But, you know, if you genuinely like the kind of person who gets genuinely upset and, like, to the point of tears about this console stuff, I kind of feel like it underpins some other, you know, deeper issue. And I think, like, there's nothing wrong with using gaming to bring you comfort, and in fact, that's, like, you know, what most of us do, right? But when it comes to, like, platform attachments and stuff like that, and to the point where it's becomes like a toxic thing, and it's a negative thing that makes you feel genuinely upset, you probably need to reassess a little bit. And that's not a criticism, because I think anyone can get sucked into anything and just be like, you know, there's something going on here, and this is the thing that I'm using to distract me from it. But when you actually zoom out and sit back and take a breath, none of this stuff's really that important, you know. It's just gaming. It's meant to be fun at the end of the day. And if you're not having fun with it, you know, because you're thinking about all the stuff surrounding it, or people are being dicks online and all that kind of stuff, just take a step back for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you know what? I think that's a good spot to end the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us for another 4-hour or almost 4-hour episode of Xbox 2, episode 327 on this beautiful October 25th. Do us a big favor, hit the like button, please, or subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this later on the podcast apps like Spotify or iTunes, you know, click a 5-star rating for us or write a review. We'd appreciate it. You don't have to, but it does help out algorithm things of that stuff. And as far as next week, we'll be doing some Halloween episode, Jez was saying, of Xbox 2 Ultimate, so look forward to that, Patreon peeps. Anybody that hasn't, you know, we mentioned this a few times, but we just did Xbox 2+1 with Tom Henderson. You can listen to that now on the Patreon, and it'll be available for everybody sometime next week. And we'll be back Friday next week for, I mean, it got to be November. So
Jesus, the year's gone quick, hasn't it?
It'll be November. Jez will be able to talk about probably Dragon Age by then. See if that game's worth it. Yeah, so we'll see you in about a week or on Tuesday. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Love you all. Peace out. And you know, if you decide to use Manscaped, want to buy something from there, make sure you use code XB2. 20% off and free shipping. Sign up to patreon.com/XB2 for all that good stuff. And we will see you in the future. Later, everyone.
Peace out, dude.